Today, I'm going to be ranking every player in Fortnite history, from OG Fortnite pros,
your world champion, boom,
to up-and-coming GOATs.
Oh my God!
So grab your popcorn because I'm going to be ranking every pro Fortnite player by age, country, and so much more. Starting with the youngest player on our list, Shark. We don't know his real name or what he even looks like, but we do know his birthday. Shark was born on June 14th of 2011, which means that he turned 14 just a month ago. And so far, he's already made over $64,000 in Fortnite earnings. That's a lot of money for anybody, especially a kid who barely just turned 14. And although he's been absolutely exploding in popularity recently, he's actually been playing competitive Fortnite all the way since 2019, when he was just 8 years old. However, back then, he wasn't exactly winning big like he is today, and technically, he wasn't even supposed to be competing because he was under the minimum age of 13. But as you'll see later in this video, a lot of pros on this list got their start before they were technically allowed to. Anyways, since he's been playing Fortnite since such a young age, it's given Shark an advantage. Even though he's such a young player, he has a lot of experience in the game. And as he's gotten older and gotten better reaction time and mechanical skills, he's just gotten better and better. And many people do not know this, but Shark actually made his first earnings back in March of 2023 when he was just 11 years old. And the craziest part is he's not even the youngest person on this list to have made earnings at 11 years old. So stick around to see who made earnings even younger than that. It's gonna shock you. Fast forward a couple years and Shark would make his first grand finals this year during Major 1. And here he would place 22nd in EU alongside his trio Ju and Z Andy. Then he would make it into Major 2 as well with his new trio Trulex and Noah Riley. It's incredibly impressive for this kid to be qualifying for every major, considering the fact that he is the youngest professional Fortnite player that's out there right now. On top of that, he's been performing super well during the qualifiers for the upcoming FNCS Major 3, and let me tell you, he has been killing it. During Division 1 finals, he had the third most eliminations in the entire region, getting more eliminations than Vino and Vico. So if you want to get ahead of the curve and follow one of the best up-and-coming players on this list, you guys gotta check out Shark. And if you thought the 14-year-old player was crazy, one of, if not the best 15-year-old in the game right now is none other than Victor V. If you guys are fans of the channel, you might remember that I actually interviewed him last year, and I got to learn the inside scoop on everything Victor V. Unlike a lot of people who usually get their start on console or PC, Victor actually started playing video games on his phone. And according to his dad, he played a lot of Roblox.
No, I was just like, okay, he's on his phone, he's playing a game. I know he was on his phone all the time, but that could have been, to me, he could have been, on YouTube or whatever. He did play a lot of Roblox. Like that, he was a Roblox fiend.
But mobile gaming wasn't all that Victor did. He also was, and still is, a very talented swimmer.
I was heavily into swimming. I remember back then I used to be top 1 in the country. Dad, what was it?
Got a lot of medals and stuff like that, and he was just really dedicated to swimming as well.
Eventually, Victor moved on from playing mobile games and started to play Fortnite on his PS4. And somehow, he started to become way better than all of his older brothers. That's when his brothers and his dad knew that Victor was going to be better than just your average gamer. Victor really wanted to test his skills and maybe even consider going pro, so he asked his dad for a brand new PC, and after some convincing from Victor's older brother, his dad decided to get him a computer for Christmas. So right after Victor got this upgrade, he jumped right into the Fortnite competitive scene, but he would have a long way to go before becoming one of the greats of Fortnite. Unfortunately for Victor, he didn't qualify for FNCS until almost a year later during Chapter 3 Season 1. And unfortunately, because of his age, Victor would also face a large amount of drama, with other players calling him out for being too young to play the game.
They're so dumb. Like, we can literally report them. They're kids literally 9 years old. He's literally underage. He literally cannot play this game. Like, if we report him, they're literally just gone.
And that TikTok was just the one that I could show you. People were saying a lot more mean things to this really young kid. And honestly, if I was facing this sort of negativity at Victor's age, I probably just would have given up. So because Victor never backed down and never gave up, he continued to grind away at Fortnite and become one of the best players in the world. Since then, Victor has continuously shown shown up in the grand finals, but his best year by far was last year in 2024, where he made it all the way to the Global Championships.
Let's welcome Paper and Victor V! Winning the region's hearts in Major 3 and making it all the way to the biggest stage of the world is not a simple feat, and now it's showtime!
Not only did he make it, he was performing incredibly well with his duo Paper, as the duo was in the top 5 all of day 1 until they died due to a glitch in the game in game number 6, and it set them all the way back and ended them up in 21st place for the tournament. Although he had an unfortunate ending to 2024, he's been playing really well this year too, and despite it's his first time playing trios competitively, he has already finished 5th on NA West in Major 2, and I wouldn't be surprised if they did even better in Major 3, and we saw Victor in Grand Finals once again. Our next player, however, is probably the most impressive player on this list so far, and his name is Alex. Our 16-year-old player comes all the way from OCE, and although he's just 16 years old, he has been dominating that region since he was just 11. Power Alex was born on August 9th of 2008. His older brother introduced him to gaming at a very young age, and Fortnite was one of the first games he ever played. Alex quickly got better than most of his friends and his older brother, and because of this, he decided to try out for the Fortnite World Cup in 2019. But there was only one problem, and just like a lot of other players on this list, Alex was not old enough to compete in the competition. To compete in the World Cup, you had to be 13 years old, and if you're good at math, you'll know that Alex was only 10 years old during the Fortnite World Cup. So either Alex didn't know this was the rules, or more than likely, he just hoped he wouldn't get caught, because he did make his first ever earnings during the qualifiers of the World Cup, and got $100 of earnings at just 10 years old, which that's like insane, right? That's really crazy. Anyways, although he didn't qualify for the LAN World Cup, he did not give up his dreams of being a pro Fortnite player, as like I said, he was already earning money at the age of 10. As seasons went by, he would play in bigger and bigger tournaments, but unfortunately, his age would catch up with him. There was a ton of attention on Alex as he started to rise in the ranks of the best players, and some other players started to get very suspicious. Every day, he was getting replies under his tweets asking why he hadn't been banned yet. But eventually, Alex would get caught. This ban would last for an entire year because he got caught when he was 12 years old and had to wait until he was 13 to continue playing. This was absolutely devastating for Alex, as Fortnite was his favorite game and a huge part of his life. However, he didn't give up on his dreams. To prevent his mouse and keyboard skills from getting dry, he switched over to playing competitive Valorant. And after an insanely long year of missing him, Alex was able to rejoin the Fortnite community after getting literally the highest rank in Valorant possible at just 12 years old. This kid might just be a prodigy. After his ban was up, Alex turned 13 a few months later and was able to return to playing on the pro scene. Since then, he has been one of the top names on not just the OCE region, but across the entire world. He got his first ever FNCS win during the Chapter 2 Season 3 Grand Finals and has gotten 2 more first place since then. He's also qualified for every LAN event since 2022 and has done all of this while being just 16 years old. And Alex is not showing any signs of stopping soon, just like our 17-year-old player, one of the best Fortnite players on the entire planet, one half of the reigning 2024 World Championship team, Pollo. Miguel Pollo Moreno was born on May 8th of 2008 in Mexico. He started playing Fortnite during Chapter 1, Season 4, but didn't immediately get involved in the world of competitive esports. Like many of the other players on this list, he started competing occasionally in different Fortnite tournaments here and there, while being under the age of 13. And although Pollo wouldn't turn 13 until May of 2021, he didn't listen to the rules and would start competing all the way back in February of 2019, when he was still just 10 years old. However, Pollo wouldn't make his first earnings until almost 2 years later in August 8th of 2020 during the FNCS Chapter 2 Season 3 solo qualifiers. Here at just 12 years old, he would place 11th on NA West and take home $300. And then again, one day later, he would place 23rd in the finals and get another $200. Later that season, Pollo would make it all the way to the NA West Grand Finals that started on August 16th, and after placing 53rd out of 100, he would take home yet another cash prize of $400. If you've watched my other videos, you'd know that most players make their first earnings off some sort of little cash cup or one-off tournament. But Pollo made his first ever earnings in grand finals, and all before he was even legally allowed to play at just 11 years old. Over time, Pollo would grow as a player and get better and better while teaming up with bigger and bigger players. He was successful during the 2023 season and even qualified to the Copenhagen Grand Final World Championships with his duo Sphinx, where they placed 16th out of 50 teams. But of course, everyone knows that 2024 is where Pollo would make history. He decided to team up with Peterbot.
So you were a fan of Peter. Did he reach out to you to play, or did you reach out to him?
I reached out to him.
Really?
Okay, so he was, I'm not trying to be rude or anything. He carried his teammate Sphinx last year. I just knew how good he was because we were coached by the same coach. I would watch him every tournament I could. I just knew that like we were gonna be the best duo.
I mean, the same thing happened with Booga, but we actually never ended up playing. So playing with him and then winning felt better. Yeah, it felt good.
The two worked really well together because Pollo was able to focus on strategy and game sense, while Peter could just go absolutely crazy and frag out.
Feels a little better for me because Peter's been known for a while, but this year I came up, I guess. He's definitely better at getting eliminations, but I think I'm smarter than him. And he'll probably tell you that as well.
And as you guys know, the two of them would go on to lead an insane season, which we're going to be talking about right now with our next pro, the best 18-year-old Fortnite player in the world, and the other half of the 2024 World Championship duo. You either love him or hate him, and his name is Peterbot. But before we talk about that, I want to talk about the sponsor of this video, CyberGhost VPN. Every time you go online, there's way more people watching than you think. Your internet provider, your school or your work Wi-Fi, and even public networks. And incognito mode does not protect you from any of that, which is where CyberGhost comes in. With CyberGhost, you can instantly encrypt your connection and route it through one of their 100+ locations worldwide. This keeps your data private and secure, and can also let you unlock geo-restricted content from over 40 streaming platforms like Netflix, Prime Video, and Disney+. It works on everything like Windows, Mac, iOS, and Android, and you can protect up to 7 devices at once on just one subscription. And use the link in my description below where you can get their best deal ever of just $2.03 a month plus 4 free months, and there's a 45-day money-back guarantee, so there's no stress. Check it out and support the channel, and now let's get back to the video. Peterbot Kata was born on June 20th of 2007, and he picked up Fortnite during the first ever season of the game on his PlayStation 4.
I mean, I was in school. with my friends, and actually my cousin. My cousin told me to get the game, and I was just playing with all my like IRL friends and stuff, just having fun like every other kid when Fortnite first came out.
While he was playing with his friends and family, he started to realize that he was actually really good. Eventually, Peter decided to upgrade to a PC for some stronger competition in the game, but he didn't really get involved with proper competitive Fortnite until 2020. Mostly because that's when he finally turned 13 years old and was old enough to actually compete. A fellow pro named P-God decided to give Peterbot a chance, even though he was a very unknown player at the time.
I had 4,000 followers when I started playing with him. I have like almost 40K on Twitter now. And like, I appreciate it a lot. It's helped me a lot. And my Twitch, I get like 300 average views now.
Because of this new connection, a lot of other pros would start to take notice of Peterbot. He went through a lot of duos though, until finally teaming up with his friend Byla. Then, together, the two of them would win Peter's first ever FNCS finals, all while Peter was still only 14 years old.
It's like the best feeling in the world. I mean, you just won. Honestly, it's not really a money thing, it's just winning. When you're winning, you can't be mad at anything. And honestly, the win was really unexpected, so it meant more to, you know, me, just because I don't think people had me in their top 20, but I still won. You know, a lot of things went my way though, I'm not gonna lie. Every winner needs a little bit of luck, bro. Like whether like you say like they don't or not, everyone needs a little bit of luck in their FNCS. It's just how it works.
For some players, winning an FNCS would be the height of their Fortnite success, but for Peter, this was only the beginning. Because in 2024, he would have the best year in the history of esports. In Major 1, him and his duo Pollo would place second.
Peterbot and Pollo in second. Peterbot was putting on an absolute highlight reel. The broadcast was showing some of the most ridiculous shots I have ever seen out of them.
He played the perfect cash cup.
It was back. Good.
That's it. Nice. Oh my god.
1, Major 2.
Pollo still hanging out way up above the clouds. That's what's impressive about this. Peterbot is down here literally 2v1ing, fighting everyone while Pollo's like, hey man, I'll make sure I lock in the win.
One for a no-scope, okay?
Alright. Don't feed them the splashes. Don't feed them the splashes.
Dead! Oh
Nice.
my god!
1, Major 3.
It is confirmed. Peterbot and Pollo have done it. The back-to-back has happened. Peterbot and Pollo, congratulations once again.
And even became a world champion.
Would you please give it everything you've got for the FNCS Global Champions 2024, Peterbot and Pollo!
As you guys know, Peter and Pollo have since split up as a duo and have been involved in a bit of a rivalry. Comment down below if you want to see a video covering their entire relationship. But for now, we need to talk about the best 19-year-old player in the world, Malibuka. Danila Malibuka Yakovenko was born on October 14th of 2005. He started playing Fortnite during Chapter 1, Season 3. At first, Malibuka was just like any other player who was just enjoying the game in his free time. However, he noticed that he was a little bit better than his friends, and so when Fortnite announced the World Cup, him and millions of other players decided to compete. And although he wasn't good enough to make it to the finals in New York City, this is where he would make his first ever earnings. Malibuka kept playing the game and was consistently getting better. Then in Chapter 2 of Season 5, he would finally qualify for his first ever Grand Finals. Although Malibuka only placed 19th out of 33 teams, it was still impressive because he did qualify on the best region in the world of EU. Every Grand Finals, however, Malibuka would start to place higher and higher and became not only one of the most well-known names in EU, but also in the entire world. Unfortunately, however, Malibuka still hadn't gotten a first place. Well, at least not until February 25th of 2024, when he would win his first ever Grand Finals with his duo Mustache. The two of them literally won by only 1 point, just barely beating out Queasy and Thomas. And although he hasn't won an FNCS since then, at least he has one win, unlike our best 20-year-old player on this list, Clix. Clix was born on January 7th of 2005 in Connecticut, and he started gaming at around 5 years old by sneaking onto his brother's PC.
When I was around 5 years old, I got into video games. I didn't have a PC, but my brother, which was at the age of like, I think 13 or something, he had a PC that I would always sneak into his room and just play Call of Duty Zombies. First game I ever played was Minecraft, and then I realized that my dream is to like become a professional gamer.
Fortnite came out when Clix was just 12 years old, and he knew it was going to be his ticket to being a professional gamer.
I was playing Minecraft and I knew there was no way to necessarily make money off of, and I saw Fortnite and I had confidence that Fortnite will blow up and I could possibly make a living or like a career out of Fortnite.
His big break would come during the Fortnite World Cup. During the 10 weeks of qualifiers, Clix would score high enough to qualify for the LAN event 5 times over, 3 times in solos and twice in duos with his partner Skeptic. So before he even got to the LAN in New York City, Clix had already won $22,000 at just 14 years old. Because of how well they did in the qualifiers, people considered him and his duo Skeptic to be some of the front runners going into the tournament.
In that group, we have Crimson Spades, Clix and Skeptics, PF Zin and Nyx, Artgram and Falconer, and then Lenon and Tyler 15. I mean, there's so much you could say about this duo.
I think a lot of people are keeping their eyes on Clix and Skeptic because Clix's rise throughout the Fortnite World Cup Online Opens has been meteoric. A lot of people are wondering, how is he going to perform on the stage?
Sadly, they didn't perform as well as expected and only got 35th out of 50 teams, but they still got the minimum prize of $50,000 each. On top of that, Clix still had the solos tournament remaining, and after placing 18th, he would get another $112,000. And since the World Cup, Clix has been grinding Fortnite non-stop. He's been playing in pretty much every single FNCS Grand Finals since they began back in 2019. And although Clix hasn't gotten his first win yet, Major 3 is coming up, and I have a ton of faith in Clix. So if you guys think Clix is going to win an FNCS, hit that subscribe button right now. Because the next player on this list isn't subscribed, and if he was, he'd probably be even better than he actually is.
Hey, come on, baby! baby! Come on! Yes! Come on!
And at 21 years old, it's one of our most underrated players on the scene, Acorn. Abdullah Acorn Akras was born on June 14th of 2004. He started playing competitive Fortnite as soon as it became available. After making his first earnings of $1,600 back during the World Cup qualifiers, Acorn would start what is probably one of the best careers in competitive Fortnite. His first ever Grand Finals was on April 19th of 2020, and since then he has continued to participate consistently in pretty much every single one of the tournaments. He finally would make a big name for himself, however, during Chapter 2 Season 5, when he became an FNCS champion. But this was only the beginning, because in 2023, he would become one half of one of the best duos in all of Fortnite history with his duo partner Cole. The two of them would win the 2023 Major 1, qualifying them for the Global Championships in Copenhagen. Then the following year of 2024, even with Peterbot and Poyo on the rise, they would win a Major once again, finishing first in Major 1 of 2024.
Epic gets a big chunk out of Cold, but it's gonna be Cold who turns things around. Double elimination here onto Clicks and Epic Whale.
Oh, and another one. And now it's Duke and Threats on the low ground here. Acorn and Cold have fought their way all the way up to first place, and it doesn't matter how you cut it. They will be your Grand Finals champions here, but can they close it out on a win? They sure can. A huge tag there, of course. Cole's gonna hit it back to back, and they do it again here. A year later, from Chapter 4 to Chapter 5, we have winners.
Acorn must have a thing for winning Major 1, because in the following year of 2025, the first FNCS Major would also go to Acorn with his brand new trio of Poyo and Agers. The only thing that Acorn is missing is a global championship under his belt, but he's already qualified for those global championships later this year, so let's see if he's going to be able to win one. Our 22-year-old player, however, is already a world champion, and probably the most iconic one, the Fortnite World Cup winner, Booga. Kyle Booga Giersdorf was born on December 30th of 2002 in Pennsylvania. His dad was actually the one that introduced him to gaming and even introduced him to Fortnite.
My dad played video games for like his entire life. He first introduced me to the game because he played Save the World. But I kind of found the Battle Royale. So I started playing that with some of my friends, and then eventually got to competing.
After playing the game on console, Booga realized that he was way better than his dad and all of his friends, so he would make the investment to getting a PC, where he would start to play on a much higher competitive level. Just like other players on this list, Booga's big break would come from the Fortnite World Cup.
From players like Bugga, who honestly for me came out of nowhere.
Yeah, honestly, I've been following Bugga for quite some time, and I'm just so happy that he's able to go off so hard in this tournament today, because it means so much. It really does.
And everybody watching this video knows what happens next.
Ladies and gentlemen, there's no way anyone beats him. Your Fortnite World Champion, Booga!
And just like that, Booga became a millionaire simply from playing video games. And everyone, even non-gamers, started to notice.
Fortnite World Cup Solos champion, Booga. He is 16 years old from Pennsylvania and now $3 million richer. How does that sound?
Sounds amazing, honestly.
Woke up, had a banana, won $3 million, no big deal. Not bad. What are you going to do with $3 million? I proposed maybe you buy a new car, and you reminded me you don't have a driver's license yet because you're only 16 years old. So what are you going to do with all that cash?
Just save the money, put it to my future, and probably buy a new desk.
Booga became the poster child for what esports could be. Before this, parents thought of video games as a silly waste of time, but now it was a legitimate career. In addition to his World Cup win, Booga also has 3 FNCS titles, and arguably could be called the best player on this list, compared with players like Peterbot and Poyo. However, Booga is not the oldest player on this list. That is in fact Aussie Antics. At 31 years old, he, in my opinion, is the best old guy to be still playing the game, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because I know what you guys are thinking, Aussie isn't technically a pro player, but he did just win the Pro-Am, which is an official Fortnite event.
And please, Gallon Center, one more time, make some noise for your 2025 FNCS Pro Champion!
And for those of you who are gonna comment this below, I'm claiming right now he didn't just get carried by Peterbot, he actually did pretty well even against the other pros in the lobby.
First impression of the game, it's fun.
Ninja was the perfect person to pick up the game on launch day. He had previous experience as a pro Halo player and was already streaming on Twitch for over 6 years. But despite creating content for so long, he had only just reached 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. Ninja saw Fortnite as a new opportunity to expand his audience while having a ton of fun.
And I was monitoring Fortnite so much while I was still streaming and playing PUBG. And I was like, all right, this game's great. A lot of the top streamers and top players from PUBG are like kind of bashing on the game and they're not streaming it, right? They played it and now they're just gonna continue to play PUBG. But I was watching every single time they were playing and it looked incredibly fun to me. So that was when I just decided like, all right, this is the perfect opportunity to switch over, just go full-time Fortnite.
And unlike players later on this list, Ninja would become more known for his content creation than his actual skill at the game, but that doesn't mean he wasn't good, and we'll talk about that in a second. But anyways, this change to Fortnite turned out to be the best decision of Ninja's life, because Fortnite launched him into a stardom that nobody thought was possible with video games. He was on talk shows.
You guys ready? This is
Easy. All right, you ready?
Let's do it. Yeah, I'm ready.
It's simple, man.
All
Is
right.
it gonna be a music cue or are we just gonna go, man?
Yeah, you want to get it done.
All right, so you like that, dude. Left,
He was gaming with Drake and Travis Scott.
Yeah, GG, you got Band-Aids?
Band-Aids?
So, nigga.
He was even invited to awkwardly floss in Times Square on New Year's Eve.
Everyone floss, let's get it. Come on, baby. Show me what you got. Show me what, just move. If you got to know it, just move. It's all I want to see, some movement. I'm not seeing enough movement. Oh my God.
And despite all of Ninja's success as a content creator, he was also known for his skills in the game.
He's majestic.
Nope. I really felt like I could do that, and I just couldn't. Oh, didn't want that.
Are you having some,
honestly,
some
dude, really don't want to talk about it, dude. Really just not in the mood to just...
Well, later on he was, because at the beginning, he wasn't the best. Over time, however, Ninja got better and better at the game, and he quickly learned how to adapt to the new building mechanics that a lot of longtime gamers were having trouble getting used to. And for all of 2017, people looked to Ninja as inspiration to get good at the game. But Ninja wouldn't be the best Fortnite player for long, because a new player was about to explode in the Fortnite scene, and his name was Tfue.
Oh! Oh!
2018's best player definitely has to be Turner Tenney, also known as Tfue. He was uploading content on YouTube for basically his whole life. He started his gaming channel in 2014, mostly playing games like Call of Duty, Destiny, and then H1Z1. Then, on February 2nd of 2018, Tfue would upload his first ever Fortnite video, titled Fortnite 29 Solo vs Squads Kill Crazy Late Game. And he did exactly what the title said. Plowed through 29 players like it was nothing. And after the whole thing, he had only this to say.
Not bad, but we could do a lot better.
I've never gotten close to 29 kills in a game, and Fortnite has bot lobbies now. So as you can tell, Tfue was eons above the average Fortnite player. But back then, this was basically just pub stomping. There were still no competitive lobbies for him to prove himself in. Well, at least at the beginning of his career, because very soon, Tfue would have the opportunity to play in one of the biggest tournaments in the entire world. But before that, he would first need to find a team. And on April 30th of 2018, Tfue would join FaZe Clan.
We're gonna turn this motherfucker into a hybrid.
What?
So to speak, right? Not only are you gonna be nasty at the game, streaming and shit.
Bro, I'm at.
You are, dog.
With FaZe, Tfue became unstoppable. Aside from his success in-game, he also hit 1 million subscribers just a month later in May of 2018. And like I said, Epic Games didn't have a clear competitive structure yet, and that was going to take some time. But luckily, some big names on YouTube decided to come in clutch and create their very own Fortnite tournament called Friday Fortnite. For those of you who weren't around,
And
Friday
next up,
Fortnite
we have
was
one
a
of the
tournament
oldest
hosted by
players in
Keemstar
Fortnite
and
history,
UMG Gaming.
Ninja.
The goal was to put all of your favorite pro players and content creators into games where they would compete for cash prizes every Friday. At first, Tfue would try out a couple of teammates before finding his forever duo, Cloaksy, and these two were a force to be reckoned with. They would regularly place in the top 4 teams for the extent of Friday Fortnite, winning the $10,000 first place prize in weeks 3, week 5, week 7, and week 9 of the tournament, meaning that Tfue and Cloaksy had over $50,000 in competitive earnings before Epic Games had even launched their first tournament. Some might say it was easy to win Friday Fortnite tournaments because at the end of the day there were a lot of content creators who weren't pros in the playing field. But Fortnite would start to launch official tournaments where Tfue and his duo Cloaksy would be able to prove to everyone that they were the best of the best in the game. And we would all find out that that was very true in the fall skirmish. Tfue not only won 2 solo events, but was also able to take home the duo first place prize with his teammate Cloaksy.
Your #1 duo. Coming out of the fall skirmish, 6 weeks of work pays off on this stage right now in front of all of you, at home. Your #1 duo. It's Tfue and Cloaksy!
Tfue was easily the biggest player of 2018, both in popularity and in the competitive scene. But in 2019, Epic Games would announce the biggest event in Fortnite history, the Fortnite World Cup. For those of you who know literally anything about Fortnite or my channel, you know exactly where this is going. 2019's best player is without a doubt Bugha. Bugha had been playing video games his whole life since his dad introduced them to him at a very young age.
I was introduced to gaming pretty much by my dad. He's been a gamer all his life, so he pretty much got me into everything. He got my first console for me, but I think the first game I played was either Little Big Planet or it was COD. It was one of the two.
But he never thought of himself as a pro gamer until his dad introduced him to the game called Fortnite.
My dad played video games for like his entire life. He first introduced me to the game because he played Save the World. But I kind of found the Battle Royale. So I started playing that with some of my friends, and then eventually got to competing.
Bugha started to realize that he was getting a lot better than his friends on console, so he moved to PC to start playing more competitively.
I kept playing just for the enjoyment and getting better, but then eventually I realized I was getting like a little bit too good for my friend group that I was playing with. So I actually switched over to PC and just like I pretty much got introduced to a group of people and they were like, hey, you want to go scrim?
Soon after, the Fortnite World Cup would be announced on March 25th of 2019.
The Fortnite World Cup. The Fortnite World Cup starts on April 13th, when all eligible Fortnite players from around the world will be able to compete in the weekly online opens. Each online open has a prize pool of $1 million. That's 10 weeks and $10 million up for grabs. And it's all online. In each region, the top performing players from the online opens will earn a spot in the Fortnite World Cup Finals in New York City to compete for their share of a $30 million prize.
Even though Bugha wasn't on many people's radars, he ended up getting first place in the first week of solo qualifiers, which secured him a spot in New York City. And as you guys know, Bugha went beyond everybody's expectations.
But ladies and gentlemen, there's no way anyone beats him! Your Fortnite World Champion, Bugha!
Bugha came out of that weekend not only a champion and the best player of the year, but also $3 million richer and became a multi-millionaire at just 16 years old. This win also started a total media frenzy, and everyone wanted to know who this Bugha kid was and how he made so much money off of Fortnite.
The 2019 Fortnite World Cup Solos champion, Bugha. He is 16 years old from Pennsylvania and now $3 million richer.
Woke up, had a banana, just won $3 million. No big deal.
So what are you going to do with $3 million? I proposed maybe you buy a new car, and you reminded me you don't have a driver's license yet because you're only 16 years old. So what are you going to do with all that cash?
Save the money, put it to my future, and probably buy a new desk.
A new desk?
Not even a new computer?
Nah.
What has the last 48 hours been like for you?
Honestly, the last 48 hours has been just like amazing, honestly.
16-year-old Kyle Giersdorf took home the title. He netted $3 million in the process.
This attention that he brought to the game, as well as his sheer skill in the tournament, cemented Bugha as the greatest player of 2019. But Epic Games was just getting started because in 2020, the FNCS would start and a lot of players were going to make a name for themselves. And that brings me to 2020's best player, which without a doubt is Tayson. Tayson started playing professional Fortnite during the World Cup qualifiers in early 2019, and while he didn't qualify for New York City, he did make almost $2,500 in the 10 weeks of qualifying rounds. And during the early few seasons of FNCS in 2019, he was equally unsuccessful until he got his big break in 2020 during Chapter 2, Season 2 with his duo Janice. Together, the duo would qualify for the Grand Finals. And this was just the beginning, because although the duo only placed 33rd in this season, they won $1,500 and gained a lot of experience for future FNCSs. And because of this, Fortnite would invite him to the FNCS Grand Final Invitationals on May 24th of 2020. And unlike last season, there were no duos to lean on. This was all solos, so Tayson would only have himself to rely on, and he proved to everybody that he absolutely belonged to be there. He placed 5th out of 100 players, which is absolutely insane in EU. Plus, he won a very nice $50,000. This would have been a huge achievement for anyone, but Tayson still hadn't peaked. Because in the Chapter 2 Season 3 Grand Finals, Tayson would prove why he deserves to be number 1 on this list. With another season of solos, it meant that Tayson had only himself to prove his haters wrong, and he somehow managed to do that by placing 1st place and winning $80,000. And if that wasn't enough to prove why he's the best, Tayson, along with his trio of Mongrel and Mitro, would win the Grand Finals in Chapter 2, Season 4, which would bring his total earnings in 2020 to $230,000, which is pretty insane, but not as insane as the season we would see next from none other than 2021's best player, Miro. Miro had already had a ton of success with his trio Day and Reverse 2K at the end of 2020 during their first Grand Finals together. The trio placed 1st on NA during Chapter 2 Season 4, which was Miro's first ever FNCS win, but it would definitely not be his last. He continued trioing with Day and Reverse 2K well into 2021 in Chapter 2 Season 5. Here, the team would manage to get a 3rd place on NA East, winning themselves another $20,000. And because of this incredible track record, Day, Reverse, and Miro were feared competitors going into the Grand Finals for Chapter 2 Season 6.
Miro's going up, Miro's going for high grade, but Miro has one build. He's gonna walk in through the side, he finds 2, that's 1, and that's the 2nd! And all of a sudden, Miro is proving why he is this good, and he wants another championship. He's not gonna make it easy.
And Miro managed to clinch that FNCS win.
Yeah, bro, I told him like game 9, bro. I told him, bro, I was like, bro, we're about to make the comeback of a fucking century, bro. We fucking did it, bro. Oh my god, bro, this solo clutch did it, bro. This solo clutch did it. Oh my god, I'm about to fucking cry, bro. We really fucking did it. Looked at all the Grand Finals predictions list. Looked at all of them. I looked at every single fucking one. Didn't even have us top 3. Didn't even have us top 3.
And everything was going incredible. Until Chapter 2 Season 7, where Miro's trio member Reverse 2K would decide to quit Fortnite completely after the season ended. And since the team's heart wasn't in it, and Reverse was struggling with some issues outside of Fortnite, the trio would place 15th, which was a huge downstep from the 1st and 3rd places they had just received. And needing a new trio, Miro was left to hunt for the best best teammates he could find. And let's just say he found some pretty good players, because he would team up with the World Cup winner Bugha and ex-OCE player Muzz, who had just moved to NA and was one of the best players on the region. On Halloween night of 2021, the team went into the Chapter 2 Season 8 Grand Finals as a completely new team. And against all odds, Miro proved that his last trio wasn't a fluke, and they actually won first place.
Oh my god, we won!
No way!
Let's go!
I swear to God, hold on.
I swear to God, we won. No, I swear to God. Let's fucking go, boys!
Show me the leaderboard.
Let's go! Oh my fucking god!
Wait, did we
yeah,
actually?
We actually won, yes, by 7 points, bro.
Oh god!
Fucking go!
Screenshot, bro.
Now, this already winning trio was ready to face the final tournament of 2021, the FNCS Grand Royale. But as many of you may know, this didn't exactly go to plan, because just days before the event, Miro and his friend Bugha decided to drop Muzz.
Bugha, Muzz, and Miro splitting up is real. The team that just won the last NA East FNCS a few weeks ago has now already split up the day before Grand Royale. So let's get to the bottom of exactly what happened. Now, it's really confusing, and unfortunately, we don't have too much information because the original tweets that Miro made about dropping Muzz and staying with Bugha and finding out they're playing with Dukes have now been deleted. So that is the new team. We now have Bugha, Miro, and Dukes. Dukes obviously winning the last FNCS before we saw Muzz, Bugha, Miro win it. So they did drop Muzz for an FNCS win of the season before, but a lot of people still really confused. Now, I don't have the tweets on hand. I believe Miro said something along the lines of Muzz is an incredible player. It is due to personal issues outside of them as a team.
Because of this trio switch up, many people expected that Miro and his team would crash and burn, but they did the exact opposite of that.
We did, bro.
Let's go, baby. Let's go, baby.
Let's go.
Yes, they won again, which means that Miro was now the most winning player in FNCS history with 4 FNCS victories, 3 of which happened all in 2021. Just in that year alone, he earned a whopping $250,000. And for our 2022 best player, we are going to be staying in NA and featuring Epic Whale. This Player of the Year award for 2022 might be a bit of a controversial choice, but let me tell you why I think Epic Whale was the GOAT of 2022. For those of you that don't know, Epic Whale started off his Fortnite career way long before 2022, where he was one of the biggest winners in the Fortnite World Cup, placing 3rd in the solo finals and 12th in the duo finals. This earned him a whopping $1.25 million, all before turning 16 years old. And as great as all of Epic Whale's achievements at previous lands were, he would need to show up and show out in 2022 if he's gonna earn the best player on this list, and he did just that, because the first ever Fortnite LAN hosted after COVID was not actually hosted by Epic Games themselves, but by the Gamers 8 tournament in Saudi Arabia. It was more of a festival than a LAN event, with over $15 million in prizes across many games, with $2 million of that prize pool dedicated to Fortnite. The Gamers 8 tournament would feature both a builds duo game mode and a no builds duo game mode, meaning that only the most versatile players who could adapt to new circumstances would win the money. And that's exactly what Epic Whale did. Along with his duo Malabuka, they would take home the first place trophy and prize of the build tournament, winning $250,000.
And then there was Fortnite. A crazy amount of star power arrived in Saudi Arabia for this week, with Anas and Pink taking home the victory royale for the no-build competition, and then Epic Whale and Malabuka clinched the victory with the Battle Royale mode.
This is the story they remember. Malabuka and Epic, how have they managed to do this? A duo that really even shouldn't have been here has managed to keep it going, keep it pushing, and move to first place.
And Epic Whale would prove he could do just that, as he placed 3rd in the zero build tournament, taking home another $50,000. Overall, Epic Whale won over $200,000 in the Fortnite year of 2022, and although some people might say it doesn't count because it wasn't an official Epic Games tournament, I beg to differ. Epic Whale was truly the best player of that year. But he wasn't the best player of 2023, and in fact, we're gonna have to go across the pond again to Europe to name the 2023 best player as Cammy. 2023 marked the start of a brand new system for qualifying for FNCS, and this of course is because Fortnite finally introduced the Global Championship. The top teams from each regional FNCS would receive a ticket to the LAN event that was held at the end of the year, featuring the best players from around the world. After only placing 23rd with his duo SETI, Cammy really needed to step up his game if he was going to make a splash in Major 2. And they pretty much did just that, because in Major 2 they finished 5th out of 50 duos and followed that up with a 4th in Major 3. You're probably wondering how Cammy got on top of this list with only 5th and 4th places in the majors. Well, those placements were good enough to qualify them for the Global Championship at the end of the year. Here, Cammy and his duo would win an insane amount of money when they finished 2nd place, receiving $600,000. Just from FNCS majors and global finals, Cammy took home $400,000 in 2023. But that is only half of the money he made that year. And that's because the Esports World Cup would return in 2023 with a $45 million prize pool, with over $2 million of those dollars being allotted for Fortnite. This time, instead of hosting both a build and zero build tournament, there would only be a zero build duos competition where the first place prize would be $500,000. And believe it or not, Cammy and his duo Japco took home 1st place and that $500,000 prize.
Hey, Mikami and Yapko! Everyone in the game is ready to make some noise!
So if you include all of these winnings and the other tournament winnings from earlier in the year, Cammy made $750,000 in 1 year just from playing Fortnite. But that doesn't even hold a candle to the performance of the year in 2024. And if you guys have been living under a rock, you still probably know who's gonna win it, and that is Peterbot. Just in 2024 alone, this kid played a perfect Cash Cup.
It was too early.
Go back. Nice.
Nice. Nice! Oh my god.
Let's go. Let's go.
Won 3 back-to-back FNCS majors.
Pollo still hanging out way up above the clouds.
That's what's impressive about this. Peterbot is down here literally 2v1ing, fighting everyone while Pollo's like, hey man, I'll make sure I lock in the win.
One for a no-scope, okay?
Alright, don't feed them the splashes. Don't feed them the splashes.
Dead! Oh my god! Holy shit!
They just pulled off one of the craziest wins we have ever seen in Fortnite in such a dominant fashion with such an unprecedented amount of points. These guys are the real deal. We can say without a doubt, it is confirmed, Peterbot and Pollo have done it. The back-to-back has happened. Peterbot and Pollo, congratulations once again. The Axe of Champions will not leave their possession, and they're taking that. They're gonna take that to the Global Championships in September as a big flex piece. Like, hey, we are the ones that want to take it all home.
And not only did he take home 1st place in all of those tournaments, he also broke multiple world records along the way.
That's right. These guys have just broken the previous record for most points in a single day. The last time we saw this was OCE, Chapter 4, Major number 2 from Sons and Anon.
1,092 points.
You're him.
Yo.
You're him.
Go,
You're
bro.
Him,
Go.
Good shit, bro.
Go,
I wish I could dap you up.
Let's go.
In 2024 alone, Peter won just under $500,000 from playing pro Fortnite, and he did all of this at just 16 years old. So he has plenty of more years of pro gaming ahead of him. Koyota was born on December 11th, 2007 in Japan, meaning that he's only 17 years old at the time I'm writing this video, and he's already earned $150,000 from playing Fortnite. While I don't know when he started playing the game casually, we do know that Koyota's first ever tournament was the Friday Night Bragging Rights tournament on January 9th of 2021. He would only place in 276th, which I guess isn't too bad for your first tournament ever, but things were going to change very quickly, because just 1 month later, on February 6th of 2021, Koyota would make his first ever earnings, finishing 6th in the Solo Catch Cup and getting $200. From there, Koyota would start to improve rapidly. In fact, it was probably one of the fastest come-ups I've ever seen in Fortnite history. Just 4 months later, Koyota would find his way to his first ever Grand Finals during Chapter 2 Season 6. Here, he would finish 17th with his trio, earning them $400 each. And although this wasn't the placement Koyota was looking for, this was definitely a great showing considering it was his first Grands ever. And he would follow up this performance next season during Chapter 2 Season 7 in the Solo All-Star Showdown, where he would finish 18th in solos on the entire Asia region. So Koyota was showing that he could carry his own, but the next thing he needed to do was get himself an FNCS win to prove that he was one of the best players in the region. For the rest of that year, Koyota would make it to every single Grand Finals, scoring higher and higher in the leaderboard. Then on November 21st of 2021, Koyota and his trio would just miss out on the Victory Royale, finishing 2nd in the FNCS Grand Royale, winning $16,500. This solidified Koyota as one of the best players on the region, and somebody who at a very young age could be a contender to play on the world stage. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. And although Koyota would continuously find himself on the Asia Grand Finals stage, he wouldn't actually get his first FNCS win until 3 years later. During Major 3 of 2024, Koyota would get a first place prize, getting himself into the Global Championships later that year. Then again this year in 2025, he would place first in both Major 1 and Major 3 on the Asia region, where he would once again get invited to Global Championships.
With only 3 teams qualifying to the Global Championship, Asia is determined to prove that sometimes less is more, as well as confirm to the rest of the world that their scrappy, box-fighting heavy playstyle is a valid tactic for success. They've spent years being overlooked, but now Asia is ripe for making another Dark Horse appearance.
He found himself getting 25th place in Lyon, which, although isn't exactly what he was looking for, showed that he definitely wasn't the worst in the world, and in fact has a lot of potential going into next season. But that wouldn't be the last we would see from Koyota on the world stage, as he also performed in the FNCS Pro-Am.
Make some noise for Captain Shota and Koyota, all the way from Japan. These guys are here to make their mark on the international stage with a big win.
And although he only got 13th with his teammate Shota, this wasn't what everybody was talking about at this LAN, because as I told you earlier, everybody calls Koyota the Asian Peterbot, and he actually got the chance to 1v1 Peterbot on LAN. And just like every other Fortnite fan, I was shocked when this kid not only held his own, but beat Peter and showed the world he might be the next GOAT.
Oh my god!
Está loco.
Muy bien.
Oh!
He did it. He did it. He did it. 5 to Peter. 2.
As you can see, Koyota is insane. I am sure that he's going to continue to dominate the Asian region, and in fact, there's another pro player who has been blowing up to switch over, most people just refer to him as the region like Peterbot or NA, his name where is Koyota. He can get some better competition and then perhaps perform better on the world stage. And speaking of bigger regions, let's talk about the best player in the biggest region in the world, EU. With so many players to choose from, it was insanely hard to make this decision. However, I picked somebody who I think is still underrated, even though they are considered one of the best fighters, if not the best fighter on the planet. My player from EU is Veno. This is Veno, one of the best Fortnite players in the history of the world. From winning FNCS,
I got it! Yes!
To flying across the world to duo with Clicks.
Coming in no matter what. Good morning, Cookie Bear.
But things haven't always been so easy for Veno. It started off with being bullied at school.
I didn't like people talking about my family, especially if they didn't know them.
To getting banned from Fortnite and experiencing heartbreaking losses.
Candy might peek. Breaks through the wall. Shot getting fired.
Today, I will be telling the entire story of Veno. Harry Veno Pearson was born on November 26th of 2004 in the United Kingdom. He was born into a large family with a ton of siblings.
I was born in Bath, and I'm from the UK, of course. One side of my family is from Jamaica. That's where I'm sort of mixed, but the sunlight has unfortunately not blessed me in the last couple of years.
As he got older, his brother started to introduce him into the world of gaming.
I like to take credit for this personally, but I introduced Harry to the games. I gave him his first Xbox controller.
While Veno was born in Bath, he lived all over the UK because of his dad's job.
I've moved around my entire life for my dad's work. I've been to every corner of the UK. The only place I've ever not lived is London.
And because of all the moving around and a couple of other reasons, Veno started to get picked on at school. His family had to make the difficult decision to pull him out of public schooling because of all the bullying.
He was tending to get picked on, and he didn't react well to it. It was making him unhappy, and he started to become a bit more introverted over the whole thing. So actually we made the pretty big decision that I would homeschool him.
With I was getting taunted a little bit, whether it was about my hair or whether it was about my family, and I didn't like people talking about my family, especially if they didn't know them.
And in between studying for tests during homeschool, Veno needed a way to make friends because he wasn't going in person anymore.
I spent all my time literally learning the GCSE curriculum, if you like, and homeschooled him. And that had some downsides to it because, again, there wasn't sort of the community and the friends that he would normally have. And I think he found himself into the game then. That was kind of much more getting into the internet, finding that he could have virtual friends.
Fortnite was one of the first times that Veno felt special. Although he had gone through some troubles as a young kid, he realized that Fortnite was somewhere he excelled. And he wasn't just better than his friends. He was better than pretty much everybody. Veno's first ever Fortnite tournament was the Gauntlet Solo Test event that started on March 9th of 2019. He ended up placing 318th place in Europe, which was incredible for it being the first time he ever competed in a tournament. Veno would continue to compete in various early competitions in 2019, but a huge Fortnite event was just around the corner that would absolutely blow these contests away.
The Fortnite World Cup. The Fortnite World Cup starts on April 13th, when all eligible Fortnite players from around the world will be able to compete in the weekly online opens. Each online open has a prize pool of $1 million. That's 10 weeks and $10 million up for grabs. And it's all online. In each region, the top performing players from the online opens will earn a spot in the Fortnite World Cup Finals in New York City to compete for their share of a $30 million prize pool.
So of course, with $40 million in the line, Veno wanted to be a part of this historic event. And this is also where we would see him make his first ever Fortnite earnings. In the first week of qualifiers, he placed 1,717th place, which earned him $100. And it's crazy to think that he got paid even while placing so low, especially considering how low the prize pools are today. But back then, with these massive prize pools, you didn't need to get in the top 10 or top 50 to earn. And week 1 was just the start, because during the duos competition in week 2, Veno and his teammate placed 173rd in EU, which although didn't get him a ticket to NYC, he still earned $1,050 from qualifier. Things were looking great for the young Veno. I mean, just so early on in your career to make earnings is incredibly impressive. However, shortly after the World Cup qualifiers, Venno would make a huge mistake, and that mistake would come back to haunt him a few years later. He bought somebody else's Fortnite account. However, we're going to talk about the consequences and the scandal that came along with that in just a couple of minutes. Because after not placing in the World Cup qualifiers, Venno didn't compete in professional Fortnite again until the next year, April 13th, 2020, on this new account. And as time went on, he started to get better and better. Venno would go on to compete in every single tournament that he could, and making a little bit more earnings here and there. However, his talent really started to shine during the early 2021 season. Venno would place 20th in the FNCS Chapter 2 Season 5 Grand Final, earning $3,000. And that was the most that Venno had ever made from playing Fortnite, which was truly amazing for him at the time. And it looked like he was finally on the come up. And Chapter 2 Season 6 would be the season that he finally broke through into a top 10 in FNCS. But unfortunately, this is where purchasing somebody else's account would finally catch up with Venno. See, Fortnite decided to start investigating accounts that got into the higher rounds of FNCS. And they found out that Venno was in fact not the original owner of his account. And while this might not seem like a big deal, considering that Venno just wanted some cool skins probably, it was still a huge violation of Epic Games' terms of service. So Epic would go on and lock Venno's account. And because of the lock on the account, Venno would lose access to the $6,000 that were still in his account from previous tournaments. And people on Twitter were wondering one thing: why would a pro player take such a huge risk by playing on a purchased account? And to be honest, the answer is pretty simple. Venno wasn't planning on being a pro player. All that he wanted to do was get a few cool new skins. He wasn't using hacks or teaming or anything that would actually affect the game. So why would he think that he even did anything wrong? Especially if he didn't know that he was going to go on to become very good at the game and a pro player just 1 year later. While the bad news is that the account was permanently locked, meaning that Venno lost that $6,000. However, he wasn't prohibited from starting a new, fresh account. So that's exactly what he did. Unfortunately, it was too late for him to participate in the Chapter 2 Season 6 Grand Finals, but he was able to compete in the FNCS All-Star Showdown Open Qualifiers. The FNCS All-Star Showdown was a solo event that was held halfway through the year between June 11th and June 26th of 2021. The All-Star Showdown was a solo tournament that was eligible to all players that had made it to Champion League and Arena, but it came with a little bit of a twist. These 6 Grand Finals games would be played similar to the point format of a regular solo Cash Cup. However, there was a bonus on every single game for the player that got the most eliminations. Whoever had the most elims at the end of the match would receive an additional cash prize. So this gave players the incentive to go totally offensive if they wanted to get that sweet, sweet cash bonus. And if you guys are even a little bit familiar with Venno, you'll know that this tournament's unique format played perfectly with his aggressive playstyle. Venno played in all the qualifying rounds, eventually making it to the Grand Finals, where he also absolutely dominated. He ended up getting 2nd place, right behind one of EU's GOATs, Tayson. Venno would end up winning $120,000 from the solo FNCS, which was by far the most money he has ever made playing video games or doing anything else in his life. While Venno had been slightly known in the community up until this point, the All-Star Showdown really showed everybody in EU and across the world that he could keep up with the best of the best. Shortly after the showdown, Venno would use this momentum to find really good teammates for the next FNCS. And Chapter 2 Season 7 Grand Finals would see him team up with some of the best players on the planet, Tayson and Rezon. And with this amazing trio, they ended up getting 5th place in FNCS. And although 5th out of 33 teams was great, the trio did decide to split up after the Grand Finals. So Venno would have to go find a new trio, and he found a pretty good one, playing with Joe FN and Mongrel. However, this didn't exactly work out as they had planned, because they didn't even make it into the Chapter 2 Season 8 Grand Finals. On top of that, next season would see Epic Games release the FNCS Grand Royale on November 21st of 2021. And once again, Venno wouldn't even make it to the finals of this tournament. After 2 bad placements, people started to wonder if Venno was really that good, or if his success during the All-Star Showdown was just a fluke. So it was up to Venno to prove that he wasn't just a one-tournament wonder. But luckily for Venno, Epic Games had just announced that we were switching from trios to duos for the 2022 season. While this might not seem like a huge change to casual players, this was a massive improvement for Venno's playstyle. Although he's an incredible player in all game modes, the solos and duo game modes reward a much more aggressive playstyle, which Venno definitely has. So in 2022, Venno would team up with Joe FN once more, and the two would place 12th in the Chapter 3 Season 1 Grand Final. And although they didn't break into the top 10, this placement was way better than the previous 2 tournaments and showed that Venno was back on the rise. However, after the duo split up, Venno would team up with the one and only GOAT of duos, World Cup duo champion Aqua. Venno wouldn't know it yet, but this was probably the best move he had ever made in his career, because him and Aqua absolutely dominated the competition during the Chapter 3 Season 2 FNCS, getting first place and $300,000 in grand finals.
Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure?
Yes, they just died!
Are you sure?
Yes! Yes!
Oh my god, are you sure? Are you 100% sure?
I'm down.
Yeah. I got it! Yes!
Oh, that's so clean.
I'd like to say thank you to everyone who believed in me. So thank you to my duo. So thank you to Rabbit for killing Tayson in game 11, or was it 10? Game 10 it was.
And thanks for everyone who didn't play good in day 2, because we didn't play that good either.
Yeah.
This was Venno's first ever FNCS win, and it made him $150,000 alone. However, shockingly, after the win, Aqua and Venno would split up after just winning the FNCS on the hardest region in the world, but not for any of the normal reasons a duo might split up.
Kicking off today, we had the news that another FNCS winning team, this time Venno and Aqua, are splitting up, but it's not for the reason you're probably thinking. No, it's not because they were beefing, it's not because they were arguing. Even though they were doing a lot of that last season, they still managed to win an FNCS. They were still a great duo, but Venno tweeted out today looking for duo 1 FNCS. Unfortunately, Aqua's hands are effed and have been since last FNCS. We've been talking about it for a while. No beef between us. DM me, even if you have a duo, I won't tell anyone. So it does look like, unfortunately, Aqua is, I'm gonna guess, gonna sit out this season.
Aqua had been dealing with health issues for a while, and he decided to take a break after winning FNCS. But this meant that Venno now had to figure out who he was going to play next season with. After last season, he had pretty high expectations, and that meant that Venno was able to get a good duo, and he would end up playing with Queasy. For those of you that don't know, this duo would go on to be one of the greatest partnerships in Fortnite history, and we're going to talk about all of that right now. But apparently, this duo was actually supposed to team up much earlier in the year, but it didn't work out.
Me and Venno were going to play the first season duos, but I decided to go with Hand. In my head, Venno wasn't good enough. Or like, he didn't have the placements to prove it, you know? But I knew he was good. Like, in my head, like, it was either him or Hen, but Hen had the placements to prove it, so I decided to go with Hen.
But Venno reached out to Queasy, asking him to play again after Aqua took a break.
Option. I was actually gonna go play with Jerky. When we, like, decided to play, I was literally on Twitter making a tweet. Queasy X Jerky, Shifty Shafts all season, or whatever. And then I got a DM from Venno, like, yo, are we playing? And I was like in call with Jerky. I was like, well, I just got a DM from Venno, bro. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like, I want to play with you, but I have to play with Venno. And I literally just switched the tweet, Queasy X Venno, Shifty Shafts all season.
But before we can talk about that, the sponsor of this video, Cash App, has a fun way for you to spend money in style. The Cash App card is fully customizable, and you can draw whatever you want or pick from a bunch of pre-made stamps to put on your custom card. Once the card gets to your house, you can spend it both online and where Visa is accepted. And on top of being able to use this card pretty much anywhere, there's no random monthly charges, no hidden fees, and no minimum balance requirements, so no surprises. If you are 18 or older, download Cash App, use code CASH10, and send $5 or more to a friend within 14 days to get $10. If you're 13 to 17, request a sponsored account from a parent or guardian, use code CASH10, and send $5 or more to a friend within 14 days to get $10. Terms apply. Thank you so much, Cash App, for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to it. And the rest is history. They first started playing together in July of 2022 and dominated EU from that exact day. On August 18th of that year, they would place 3rd in the Chapter 3 Season 3 Grand Finals, earning Queasy and Veno another $150,000 each. And while Queasy has a very different playstyle to Aqua, they still managed to work really well with how Veno played.
Me and Aqua is more like brute force, you know? Like, he always had the mentality of, oh, let me go and like make high ground mine so everyone knows not to come up. That's what he's always thought of it like. But with Queasy, we like to have all different play styles. If high ground isn't working, we play mid ground. If mid ground isn't working, we play low ground. There's always something different we can do to win games.
So a little bit more of a controlled approach. Okay.
Because of their success, they then moved to the FNCS Invitational 2022, which was the first ever official LAN from Fortnite since COVID. And because of their insane performance so far, they were projected by everybody to win the LAN in 2022. And going into the last game, Veno and Queasy were in 2nd place, right behind Cammy and Seti. And this led to one of the greatest and most historic moments in Fortnite history. If you guys haven't seen this, or even if you have, you're gonna wanna watch it again. Just check this out.
What is this? What is this? Queasy, Veno are trying to take it by force!
You only win in one way, and that's taking that crown! Veno is here! Queasy is here! Down goes Seti! It's a big trade! It's a one-on-one! This has to be one of the most explosive head-to-heads we have ever seen! Veno has to get this thirst here. He knows now it means everything. We might as well seal this deal. Why wait?
Bubble shield going out. He's trying to bait it. He's trying to bait the revive so that way Cammy might peek. Breaks through the wall.
Shot's gonna be fired! And they do it! Become Legends are on top!
Become Legends has officially managed to win the biggest fight of their careers.
What you guys just saw was Veno and Queasy surprise contesting Cammy and Seti at their drop spot to try and catch them off guard and win the entire tournament. Unfortunately, as you just saw though, it was just out of their reach. And while they didn't get the coveted 1st place, Queasy and Veno did get 2nd, earning them each $140,000. And while getting 2nd place at a global LAN would be a massive career achievement for any player, it simply wasn't good enough for Veno. To put it simply, the duo expected themselves to get 1st. And despite being incredibly disappointed with 2nd place, Veno and Queasy could tell that they had something special together and decided to stick together and see what 2023's FNCS would bring. With FNCS remaining as duos in 2023, they would continue to dominate. During FNCS Major 1 Grand Finals, they placed 4th in EU, which was crazy. However, they decided to follow it up with an even better performance during Major 2, because on May 14th of 2023, Veno and Queasy would get 1st place in FNCS Grand Finals. This was their first ever FNCS win as a duo, and also won them $200,000 and a one-way ticket to the Global Championships in Copenhagen later that year. Unfortunately, however, right before Grand Finals, they still had to play Major 3, and that didn't go so well because they didn't get to play it at all, and that was because they didn't even qualify. With a crazy twist of fate, considering that they had just been FNCS champions a season before.
The matter where we didn't qualify, it was like, it wasn't necessarily a hard one, it's just that season you couldn't be consistent. That's where you saw every placement flat out. Like, I didn't qualify, but also every team that's like, okay, like predicted to win here and like was predicted to win all the seasons after or did all the seasons after, right? None of them did good because there was no way to be consistent. You couldn't go, oh, get a 2nd place or get another 2nd place or get a 1st and another 3rd. It wasn't like that. Everything was just like, there was no way to be consistent because of the pistols, stuff like that. And, you know, we got really unlucky, I thought. Like, we got game crashes and stuff like that. I mean, going from now to then, It's just about getting back into that mentality. Because after we won, you know, it's like you kind of settle down a bit, you know.
Since Veno and Queasy were already qualified for Globals, however, they didn't stress too much about their loss in Grand Finals. Instead, they planned to lock in for the LAN event. Since the LAN was being held in Europe, Veno and Queasy were at a bit of an advantage. They didn't have to deal with the insane jet lag that the NA and other regions had to put up with, and instead they could just focus on winning.
Well, it's in the prize money for this tournament. We had to put 200% in, and I think we're going to win.
This tournament was a little bit different than the other invitationals. Instead of being a 2-day event, it was a 3-day event, and the upper bracket of winners from the first 3 majors competed on day 1. The top 25 of those duos would move straight to the grand finals, and the bottom 25 would have to compete again the next day. As expected, however, Queasy and Veno did incredibly well on day 1, getting 2nd overall behind Acorn and Cold, and this meant that they got a day off in anticipation of the grand finals on day 3.
All right, so we're here, Global Championship, Copenhagen, Denmark, day 2, but you don't actually have to play today. You actually already secured your qualification to Championship Sunday in spectacular fashion, may I add, in 1 game, 94 points. Pretty incredible, if I might add. I mean, how does it feel to already secure qualification, and what is your goal today? Like, what are you going to be looking for going into Championship Sunday?
I mean, you know, it's expected from us. You know, I expected for us to qual early. We tried not to show too many of our strats, just stuff like that. Just leave everything on the floor on Sunday.
But the duo wouldn't be as lucky in the grand finals as they were on day 1, because Queasy and Veno would place 11th out of 50 teams. And although incredible for pretty much anybody, this was once again a huge disappointment considering how well everyone expected them to do in LANs. Following the event, both Veno and Queasy both made separate tweets threatening an early retirement after this tournament. It was clear at that point that these two were probably going to be splitting up, and that's exactly what they did. During the 2024 season, the two would separate. Epic Games didn't switch much up going into 2024, and we continued to play the duos mode. And Veno would once again team up with one of the greatest players in the history of Fortnite, Tayson. However, for Major 1, the duo would place 15th out of 50 teams. And once again, I'll say it, even though I sound like I'm repeating myself, this is an incredible performance, especially on the hardest region in the world, but for Veno, he just wanted to win. However, Fortnite would soon be the last thing on Veno's mind, because unfortunately, he would experience the biggest tragedy of his life following that FNCS. Veno would lose his dad as he passed away shortly after this tournament. This loss is so much more than anyone could experience in any game, and I just want to take a moment to give my condolences to Veno and his family. Just while doing research for this video, it was incredibly clear that Veno's father was so deeply caring and supportive. From the interviews we've seen and their interactions at LAN, I can't imagine to begin how devastating this loss was for Veno and how much that must have affected him. However, on the positive side of this tragedy, we saw the Fortnite community reach out to Veno and provide as much support as they could for him during an incredibly hard time. It's truly moments like these that make you realize how fragile life truly is. And although Fortnite is a huge part of my life, and I'm sure many of yours, there are so many more important things out there. So make sure you guys hug your parents and tell them how much you love them every day, because you never know when you might not get that chance again. Despite what happened, Veno decided that he still wanted to tough it out and play in the next FNCS for his dad. And Veno and Tayson would team up once again, also finishing 15th place once again. And while this was a great placement, especially considering how much stress Veno was under, it wasn't a high enough placement to get them qualified for the LAN event at the end of the year. So for his last chance at qualifying for Globals, Veno made a life-altering decision. He decided to move to Texas. I know what you guys are thinking. Why would anyone from the United Kingdom move all the way to another country and to Texas of all places? Well, the obvious answer is to duo with Clix, of course. When this duo was first announced, the entire Fortnite community was very skeptical. Moving regions midway through an FNCS was very risky for everyone involved. So a lot of people didn't even believe that Veno was actually going to America and thought it was some kind of prank until they saw Veno live on Clix's stream.
Coming in no matter what. Put pants on. Good morning, Pookie Bear. It's 6 p.m.
What do you want?
We got scrims, man.
Right now, get on, 5 minutes. Damn, dude, you musty ass set up, Brad.
And honestly, nobody knew how this team would perform, considering how many videos there were of them yelling at each other.
I said I hit him 56. Like, did you want me to fucking say that?
Lie!
Mother's life, I said that.
Nah, I haven't, okay? I've been telling you, take me farming metal, come! These scrims suck. I've got you playing 40%. I can't farm half the time because you're 2-2-0, right? Like, can you just wake the up? Holy
Their personalities were very different, and it was hard to think that they would do well at all. But it was time to prove everyone wrong during Major 3. This was both Veno and Clix's last chance to qualify for the Global Championships. So they had to totally lock in, and they did just that, because the duo would end in first place on day 1 of Grand Finals. And this was huge news considering that Clix had never won an FNCS before. And for a second, it looked like Veno was going to be the one to help Clix break his curse. But unfortunately, tragedy would once strike again on day 2 of Grand Finals. Clix and Veno were being completely griefed by 2 other players who just wanted to clout farm off of Clix. Because of this interference, Clix and Veno would drop into 4th place, yet again continuing Clix's 4th place curse. And while this was absolutely devastating, there was a bright side, because Clix and Veno placed high enough to qualify for the FNCS Global Championships. The Globals of 2024 would be held on September 7th and 8th of 2024 in Fort Worth, Dallas, Texas. The event was split over 2 days with 6 games on each day, playing for a total of $2 million in prizes. Despite dropping into 4th place during Major 3, Clix and Veno were still at the top of many people's prediction list going into the Global Finals.
I don't think I've seen a team consistently at the top of prediction lists than you guys coming into this event. Did that mess with your guys' mindset coming into the weekend, or were you guys still just confident as ever?
I was predicted to win FNCS for a year and a half straight, every single one. To be honest, I don't know why they thought we were gonna win. I'm a realist. To win, it's like last FNCS. I said we'd have to play perfect. Yeah. We almost did, and it almost came through. This one, we need Jesus, HW Christ, and playing perfect.
And of course, if you watch any video on my channel, you'll know that Peterbot and Poyo came home with 1st place, and unfortunately, Clix and Veno would land in 11th. However, this was an incredible placement, and Clix's best placement at LAN ever, and the duo had to be overall pretty happy with their performance. Next up is one of the smaller regions in Fortnite, but this year they started to really make a name for themselves, with multiple players from Brazil managing to get in the top half of placements at Globals. One of those players is also at the top of pretty much every Grand Finals leaderboard in Brazil, and the most earned player in the history of Brazil. His name is King. Born in April of 2006, King began his Fortnite journey at just 11 years old. Initially, he only played for fun, but that quickly turned into a multi-million-dollar career for the young prodigy. You see, in April of 2019, Fortnite announced the official World Cup tournament, which was a $15 million prize pool open to any player who wanted to try and enter. At the time, King was only 13 years old, and nobody even knew who he was. However, in the Brazilian region, there were only 7 solo and 3 duo slots available for the World Cup. King and his duo partner Nyx emerged as the only duo to qualify in both game modes, shocking the entire world at such a young age. Having never left his home country of Argentina before, King was ready to take on a new adventure and prove himself to the world. Sadly, King struggled in the duos competition, and him and his duo Nyx placed 39th, winning only $50,000, but hey, not too bad for a 13-year-old. That being said, King still had the solo tournament left to play, and his life was about to change forever.
Defensive at this point, he might have the high ground. Oh my gosh, sneaks the shotgun shot in right before the ramp can go down. Oh no. Okay. Oh okay. No. Quick couple notes about King, one of our players from Argentina. He is the minimum age required in order to play the Fortnite World Cup. 13-year-olds combined.
Wait, King is 13?
He is indeed.
My goodness.
Jack is 11 million times better than both of us combined.
Yeah.
With an amazing performance, especially in games 2 and 3 of the World Cup, he was able to rack up the highest amount of eliminations in the entire field, being only 13 years old. King ended up placing an incredibly impressive 5th and earned over $900,000 $100,000, which received a huge boost in not only his cash flow, but also his popularity online. Much of it was from this viral clip of him crying for joy in his dad's arm after winning $1 million. Back in Argentina, King was a superstar. Everyone was talking about the boy who won $1 million at just 13. Even the president of the country called him to say, "King, what you did with Fortnite was amazing, very crazy." At just 13 years old, he became the highest paid gamer in his entire country of Argentina. But King didn't stop there. In fact, he had already made over $1 million at this point without YouTube or Twitch accounts of his own. So sure enough, when King got home to Argentina after the World Cup, he went on to launch his YouTube channel and Twitch account in August of 2019, with his first video showcasing the work that he did in the World Cup. This video, along with many others, started to blow up, and at the same time, King was destined to win many more tournaments. In the 2019 FNCS Trios, he teamed up with Toxic and Own and secured a second place in the grand finale right after earning the $1 million in the World Cup. This earned him another $950,000, and at this point, King is still just 13 years old with over $2 million to his name. King would then lay low on the competitive side for a bit, working on gaining more subscribers and followers to his YouTube and Twitch accounts, and he really started to pick up traction. Not only was his fan base growing, but King went on to dominate the competition in plenty of more Fortnite tournaments, which led to possibly the biggest moment of his life. In 2020, FaZe introduced the FaZe 5 competition. Basically, FaZe, which is the largest esports team of all time, introduced a competition where any esports player or content creator could submit a video and tell the world why they deserve to be part of the esports team. King put out this incredibly inspirational video.
Me inspira también jugar torneos.
Oh, no. Okay. Oh, okay. No. And you see King.
Llegar a torneos importantes, ganarlos. Y también representar a la región Brasil, que eso es lo que más intento.
Soleas.
¡Lo mató King! ¡Lo mató King!
After winning the competition, King was welcomed into FaZe with open arms and continued to grow both as a player and a creator. This is 19-year-old Kyle Jackson, also known as Mongrel, and he has earned over $718,000 from Fortnite tournaments. Mongrel's most notable placements include 6th in the Fortnite World Cup duos, earning him $225,000, and 13th in the solos, earning him $150,000. He also placed 1st in Chapter 2 Season 4 FNCS, taking home $37,000. Before I tell you more, it's important to highlight some of the honorable mentions from the UK, players like Vino, Benji Fishy, and Wolfies. But the reason I went with Mongrel is because in this video, I will not only be looking at a player's current skill, but also their previous placements throughout their career and their overall impact on the game. Mongrel was one of the most popular Fortnite players from the beginning of the game until late 2021, when he announced that he'd be stepping away from competitive Fortnite. He spent the next few years streaming on and off, but not competing or really grinding his content. However, Mongrel has recently returned to competitive Fortnite, where he is duoing with our next player on this list from Norway. Martin Foss, also known as Mr. Savage, is the best player in Norwegian Fortnite history. The 19-year-old superstar is regarded as one of the best Fortnite players in all of Europe and the entire world. Mr. Savage has earned over $530,000 from competitive events, which, by the way, isn't even in the top 10 of earnings on this list. So stick around to see who has the most earnings, and the answer will surprise you. Mr. Savage has qualified for every major LAN event, including the World Cup, where he placed 14th in duos and 29th in solos. Mr. Savage also qualified for the FNCS Global Invitational and the FNCS Global Championship. Savage has been competing since the early days of Fortnite, where he was among the top pros and has been there ever since. Because of this, Mr. Savage also has one of the largest followings on social media, where he currently has over 8.5 million followers across Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter. And speaking of OG players, next is Aragonist. Representing Hungary, this 27-year-old is one of the oldest players on this list. He has been completely retired since he was 24 years old, however, and competed between the years 2018 and 2020. He made his first earnings in 2018, where he placed 31st in the week 6 of the EU Summer Skirmish, earning him $1,500. He has a total of $19,000 earned from Fortnite tournaments throughout his career, with his most recent earnings being in 2019 during day 1 of the Winter Royale. Although Although he's no longer a pro player, he still streams on Twitch where he has over 100,000 followers. Wait. Before our next country, I have a huge surprise for you guys as well. I'm going to be giving one of you guys 5,000 V-Bucks. All you need to do to enter is subscribe right now and watch until the end of this video to be entered. Now, back to the video. Our next player is TK. At 18 years old, TK is the #1 competitive player from the Dominican Republic. TK is one of the top controller players in all of North America. He started competing during the World Cup and is one of the most respected players in the console community before switching to PC. TK has earned over $37,000 from tournaments, and his biggest earnings amount came from the 2023 FNCS Global Championship, where although he placed 50th, he still earned $5,000 from that tournament alone. And just so you guys know, that was just 5 of our 50 countries on this list. So make sure to grab some popcorn and wait to see who the best player from your country is going to be. Comment down below who you think the best player from your country is, and no skipping ahead and cheating. Trust me, I'll know. Speaking of cheaters, our next player is Malibuka. Relax. I know Malibuka is not cheating, but this Russian professional Fortnite player is so good at the game that many pros accuse Danila Yakovenko, also known as Malibuka, of cheating for a very long time. At only 18 years old, Malibuka emerged later than most pros on this list. However, he quickly shot his way up to being one of the top players on the European region. Malibuka has an amazing $890,000 in official Fortnite earnings. He won the 2022 Gamers 8 LAN for $125,000 and won 2 separate DreamHacks and the most recent 2024 FNCS Major Grand Finals in Europe. Malibuka earning almost $1 million is especially impressive because unlike many of these other pros on the list, Malibuka did not earn anything during the World Cup and Winter Royale days. Back in 2019, the World Cup and other LAN tournaments had much higher prize pools than we see today. He did, however, qualify for the 2022 FNCS LAN event where he placed 16th with the next player on our list as his duo, Merstash. Merstash, also known as Andrei Piratov, at only 16 years old, is one of the youngest players on this list. But I would argue he's also one of the best. Merstash has over $600,000 earned from events and has won 2 grand finals on EU, including the most recent 2024 FNCS Major 1 with his duo Malibuka. Merstash is also a bronze Olympic medal holder, which he earned during the Esports Olympics in 2023. He also qualified to the 2022 FNCS Invitational, where he placed 16th to earn $3,500, and the 2023 Global Championships, where he placed 15th, earning $25,000. Merstash made his very first earnings in Week 8 of the Duos World Cup when he was only 12 years old. Technically, he wasn't even allowed to play, as the minimum age to compete in Fortnite competitive is 13 years old. Another player who made their first earnings illegally at just 11 years old is Alex. At just 15 years old, Alex is the Australian superstar and the youngest player on our list. This was a very tough choice because, as many of you know, Muzz is widely regarded as the best player from Australia. That being said, Alex performing at such a high level at such a young age is one of the main reasons I decided to put him at #1 for Australia. Alex has $128,000 earned from competitive events, which is very impressive considering he plays on one of the smallest regions, and again, he's just 15 years old. Alex's biggest single win was when he won the 2021 OCE Grand Royale, earning him $13,000. Alex is signed to Power, which is one of the biggest Fortnite teams in the entire world. He is not only a fan favorite in Australia, but around the world, and has built up a combined 180,000 followers on his social medias. Comment down below if you guys think Alex or Muzz should be ranked #1 in Australia. With some of these countries, it's just really difficult to choose who is best, just like in the country of Mexico. Snacky, age 17, is the best competitive player from Mexico. On my list, he beats out other popular Mexican players such as Dukes, Pollo, and Jelty. Snacky is currently in the organization TSM. He has been competing since 2019, since he got his first earnings in Duos Week 2 of the World Cup qualifiers. He has won 3 FNCS Grand Finals on the NA West region and currently has over $156,000 earned from competitive Fortnite. Snacky's most recent earnings were in the 2024 Major 1 Finals, where he placed 41st and earned $750. Snacky also has a huge social media presence where he has over 420,000 followers on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. If you thought Mexico was hard to decide, we need to talk about Poland. It's hard to mention our Polish pick Cammy without mentioning his duo Seti. Regarded as the best duo in Fortnite history, it's almost impossible to choose one over the other. But let me explain why I think Cammy just edges out Seti in the race for the best player from Poland. Michał Kamiński, also known as Cammy, has been playing since 2019 when he made his first earnings in the World Cup warm-up, placing 63rd. Cammy has had some of the best placements in the entire world, including first in the Gamers 8 2023 for $250,000, first at the 2020 FNCS Global Championship for $100,000, and first in the Chapter 2 Season 8 FNCS Grand Finals for $100,000. Not to mention second at the FNCS Global Championships in 2023, which earned him $325,000. He has achieved over $1.4 million from tournaments, which puts him 7th on the all-time Fortnite earnings leaderboard and 2nd out of the players on our list today. And if you guys want to find out who the #1 most earned player on our list is, make sure to watch until the end of the video. Now back to Cammy. Cammy's duo Seti has very similar placements since they've been playing together since Trios FNCS. But the only big difference is that Cammy had that massive Gamers 8 win, and Seti doesn't have that. So it was almost impossible to pick, and luckily, this next country is a lot easier. India doesn't have a ton of top tier players, which is why this makes it a bit easier to pick. Partially because it's hard to get good ping on the closest region to them, which is Asia. That being said, there is one player who sticks out, and that is the 20-year-old Jiren. By far the best player from India, he has the best placement from any Indian player in an FNCS. Jiren placed an impressive 5th in the Chapter 2 Season 1 FNCS Grand Finals, where he earned almost $2,000. Jiren stopped competing in Fortnite at the end of August 2021, however, he earned a total of $6,725 over the course of his career. Although he's the player with the second lowest earnings on this list, Chile, from the country of Bulgaria, is the least earned, with just $1,300 earned in all of Fortnite. His earnings come from the FNCS Chapter 2 Season 3 EU heats, where he won $1,000, and also from July 2020's EU DreamHack, where he earned $300. And he won't be earning more anytime soon because Chile retired from competitive Fortnite a long time ago. Almost as long ago as our player from the Philippines, Barl. Carl Soledonio, also known as Barl, does not compete in competitive Fortnite anymore and retired in 2020. At age 20, he's considered the top Fortnite player coming out of the Philippines. He started competing in early 2019 and made his first earnings when he placed 5th in the Scallywag Cup, that's a throwback, and earned $1,000. Barl placed consistently throughout the World Cup qualifiers and placed first in the Week 4 duos, which qualified him for the World Cup. Here he placed 41st, but still took home $50,000. Barl has earned a total of $65,750 from competitive Fortnite. And if we go just north of the Philippines, we have Muffin, a 20-year-old player from Japan. He is currently the best ranked player from his country of Japan, with an amazing $138,000 earned from 47 Fortnite tournaments. From the years 2019 to 2023, Muffin played in several big-name tournaments such as FNCS and the World Cup. His highest earnings in one tournament was $50,000 from the Fortnite World Cup. Just like Muffin, King from Argentina earned a place in the Fortnite World Cup. Thiago Lapp, better known as King, is a 17-year-old prodigy from Argentina. Not only the best player in Argentina, he's also the best player of all time to compete in the Brazilian region. Unlike our last competitor, however, King earned way more than $50,000 at the World Cup. King gained massive popularity after placing 5th in the Solo World Cup, earning him $900,000. He shocked fans with his aggressive playstyle, which set him apart from a lot of other competitors. King has earned a whopping $1.2 million from competitive Fortnite, which puts him among the top earners in the world and 3rd on today's list of players. Our #1 player will be a huge shock. I promise it's not who you think it is. Make sure you guys stick around to the end of the video to see who it is. King won 4 FNCS Grand Finals in the Brazilian region, and he is qualified to every major LAN event, including the World Cup, FNCS Global Championship, FNCS Invitational, and the Gamers 8 Esports World Cup. King is one of only a few players who qualified for the World Cup and is still competing to this day. Him and his duo Phaser are moving to EU to compete in a more difficult region for a higher prize pool. He will have much more difficult players in his region of Europe, which is one of our next players, the Serbian Queasy. Alexis Svetkovic, also known as Queasy, at just 21 years old, is in the debate for one of the best Fortnite players in not only Europe, but the entire world. Queasy has over $1 million in total Fortnite earnings and has won a total of 3 FNCS Grand Finals. Queasy won in Chapter 3 Season 2, Chapter 2 Season 6, and the 2023 FNCS Major Grand 2 Finals. He is qualified for both the 2023 Global Championships and the 2022 Invitational, where him and his duo Vino had a heartbreaking second place to Cammy and Seti, who landed at their spot the last game, killing them off spawn and ruining their chances at winning the LAN. This is one of the greatest moments of competitive Fortnite history. Check it out.
Bubble shield going out. He's trying to bait it. He's trying to bait the revive so that way Cammy might peek. Breaks through the wall.
Shot's gonna be fired! And they do it! Become Legends are on top!
Become Legends has officially managed to win!
Queasy most recently placed second in the 2024 FNCS Major 1 Grand Finals, securing $60,000 each with his duo, who's also our next player, Thomas HD. Thomas is by far the best Fortnite player from Denmark and one of the best Fortnite players in the entire world. Thomas is among the top earners of all time, with official Fortnite earnings of almost $1.2 million throughout his career. Thomas has been playing since the World Cup and even qualified for the World Cup duos, where he placed 21st and earned $50,000. Thomas has won 2 DreamHack events, both in the summer of 2023, and he has sadly never won an FNCS Grand Finals, which makes him the best player to never win in FNCS. However, he does have some of the most consistent Grand Finals placements we've ever seen. He has placed second again, third again, fourth, 6th, and 8th. As previously stated, he placed second in the most recent FNCS Major with Queasy, earning $60,000. Thomas is one of the most respected players in all of competitive Fortnite, and is also regarded as the best sniper the game has ever seen. Alright guys, for the sake of getting in as many countries as possible, I'm going to do the next 5 countries in just 60 seconds rapid fire. Starting now. Tui from New Zealand, age 2021, no longer competes and has announced his retirement of June of 2023, but during his Fortnite career, he earned over $37,000. Now to Singapore, we have Mev. Age 2022, this retired Singaporean player has competed in 2 different regions. In Asia, he earned $4,800, and in Middle East, he earned $27,000. Mev won the Chapter 2 Season 1 FNCS Grand Finals, earning him $10,800. Next is Greece. Vilix, at age 22, earned $30,000 from competitive Fortnite, and he quit right after failing to qualify for the World Cup, kinda just like me. Next up, we have Iceland, represented by Magnus. At age 20, he's a retired Fortnite pro who played from 2019 to 2021. At the time of his retirement, he had amassed $18,000 in earnings, and his most notable placement being 9th in Chapter 2, Season 1 of FNCS Grand Finals. And next up is Pakistan. Mohammed Shahir Khan, also known as Helen, at 18 years old, is competing in the Middle East region and is the best competitor from Pakistan. He's been competing in Fortnite since 2019 and is qualified for 16 Grand Finals. Some of his best placements include 2 first place finishes, a second, a third, 2 fourths, and a 5th. He won $17,000 from the FNCS Grand Royale in 2021 and has a total competitive earnings of $57,000. Phew, that was a mouthful. But now we can slow things down and talk about Chapix. This 19-year-old is the best Fortnite player ever produced out of Sweden. Yes, I know what you're thinking. How dare I not put Moneymaker in for Sweden? And although Moneymaker is the young up-and-coming GOAT, Chapix is one of the greatest Fortnite players we have ever seen. And let me tell you why. He has earned over $750,000 from Fortnite tournaments. He started competing in 2019 and achieved his first earnings in the Lux Cup, where he placed 16th and earned $400. His best placements include first in the 2021 Grand Royale, where he earned $200,000, first place in Chapter 2 Season 5 Grand Finals, where he earned $100,000, and second in the Gamers 8 2022 LAN, earning $75,000. Chapix is regarded as one of the best IGLs the game has ever seen, and has played with all the top talent in EU, including Tayson, Seti, and Hen. While Chapix doesn't place as highly as he once did during his peak, he still managed to qualify for the 2024 Major 1 Grand Finals. And he's doing it on the hardest region in the world of EU. The same cannot be said for Savid. Ireland's best player of all time started competing way back in 2019. He made his first earnings in the World Cup warm-up duos in April 2019, where he made $150. Savid has over $61,000 earned from Fortnite, with his most notable accomplishment being Somerset's ex-boyfriend. Just kidding. Kind of. His best Fortnite accomplishment, however, is his third in the 2021 EU DreamHack Open, where he earned $7,500 from one tournament. Savid was also a very popular content creator who signed to Team Power, and he has over 390,000 followers on Twitch, where he infrequently streams. Savid is now retired from competitive Fortnite and played his last FNCS in April of 2023. Next up, the Italian stallion, Belusi. At 19, he is the top player from Italy and has a total of $38,000 earned from events on the EU region. There aren't many players to choose from in Italy because they struggle really bad with ping, being far away from the EU servers. That makes Belusi's $38,000 in earnings much more impressive. Belusi started playing in the World Cup era, but didn't make his first earnings until Trios Week 5 all the way in September of 2019, where he placed 74th and earned $320. Belusi qualified to both the major FNCS lands, where he placed 58th in the FNCS Global Championship and 33rd in the 2022 FNCS Invitational. He still competes, and his most recent earnings were actually from just a week ago, where on March 22nd, 2024, he won one of his games in a solo victory cup. Staying in Europe, let's move on to Janis. Janis Matwin is an 18-year-old player from Germany. Germany is one of the most stacked countries in terms of Fortnite competitive, and this country includes players such as Lecce, Vadil, and Reason. However, with over $800,000 in earnings and multiple FNCS wins, I have to give the title of Germany's best to Janis. Janis started competing in early 2019, where he earned in the Fortnite World Cup warm-up, placing 308th, winning just a measly $150. His most notable placements, you might ask, include first in Chapter 3 Season 3 of FNCS and Chapter 2 Season 5 of FNCS EU Grand Finals. He also placed 28th in the 2023 FNCS Global Championship and 21st in the 2022 FNCS Invitational. He still competes to this day and placed 16th in the most recent FNCS Grand Finals. Alright guys, we got a lot more countries to go, so it's time for Rapid Fire Part 2. This time, I only have 60 seconds to get through the next 5 countries. Starting with SSK7 from Belarus. He is a retired player who has amassed over $189,000 in earnings over his Fortnite career. He managed to qualify for the World Cup Duos, where he placed 33rd, earning $50,000. Next up, we have Karmi, age 19, from Estonia. He has over $125,000 in earnings and is qualified for 9 FNCS Grand Finals. His best FNCS placement, however, is 4th in the 2023 Major 2 Grand Finals and earned $40,000. This also earned him a spot in the 2023 Global Championships, where he placed 13th, earning $25,000. Unlike Nevify, age 21, who only has a total of $10,000 from Fortnite. Nevify's best placement was when he qualified for the Chapter 3 Season 3 FNCS Grand Finals, where he placed 31st, earning him $1,500. Next up is Below from Finland, and because I'm running out of time, all I can really tell you is that before he quit Fortnite, he placed 17th in the World Cup Finals, earning him $112,000 and $180,000 total in his Fortnite career. Next is Scalar, a retired Czech Republic Fortnite player who is considered the best in his country. He earned a total of $93,000 over his Fortnite career and started playing in the World Cup era, where he managed to qualify for the Solos World Cup. Okay, that was quick, but we must slow down for our next player, who's from Switzerland. Noah Ray, also known as Noah Riley, at the age of 18 is the best Swiss player Fortnite has ever seen. He has earned a total of $322,000 from Fortnite events. Some of his most notable placements include 4th in the FNCS Grand Royale, 3rd in the Chapter 2 Season 5 Grand Finals, and 5th in the Chapter 2 Season 6 Grand Finals. He also finished 7th in the 2022 FNCS Invitational. There are very few players with such consistent placements as Noah Riley, but one of them is Miro. Matthew Fatal, also known as Miro, at 19 years old is our top player from Canada. Another very tough country to choose from, he beat out other big names like Acorn and Yamzo. Miro won an impressive 6 FNCS championships, including the latest global championship.
Not 1, but 2, but 3, but 4, but 5 FNCS wins, make it 6 now.
Since he started competing in early 2020, Miro has managed to earn over $1 million from Fortnite, which puts him among the top earners of all time. Perhaps even more impressively, he did all of this without earning in the Fortnite World Cup, since he started playing after the World Cup even began. Miro's biggest earning events include winning the Global Championship with $500,000 earned, and an FNCS Grand Royale he earned $95,000 by coming in first. He also has a large following on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube, with over 1 million followers combined on all those platforms. Even with all those FNCS wins, however, Miro doesn't have as much in earnings as Tayson. Tayson is regarded as one of the best players in EU, and if not the best player of all time, and he's representing Slovenia. Currently on Falcon Esports, Tayson is one of the top tier talents that EU has to offer. He has won 5 FNCS Grand Finals, including 2023 Major 1, 2021 Grand Grand Royale, FNCS All-Star Showdown, Chapter 2 Season 4, and Chapter 2 Season 3 FNCS Grand Finals. These tournaments have helped him accumulate over $1.16 million from earned Fortnite events. Tayson currently duos with another top EU talent named Vino, who just narrowly missed out on our list from the UK. They recently placed 15th in Major 1 of 2024 FNCS, and they're one of the most experienced duos on the EU region. Sticking around in EU, next up is Motor. Motor is a 25-year-old competitive player from Turkey, who is now a full-time content creator. Motor has $87,000 earned from Fortnite, where his best placement was 3rd in Season X FNCS Grand Finals, netting him a total of $48,000. After solo FNCS, Motor transitioned to focus on his Twitch content, where he does watch parties for different EU tournaments. Motor has over 500,000 followers between his Twitch and his Twitter. Next up, and I'm gonna pronounce this wrong, is Fazin. Fazin is a 17-year-old player from Brazil, and if you're from Brazil too, please tell me how to pronounce his name. This 17-year-old prodigy has earned a total of $292,000 from competing. He is qualified to both of the most recent LANs and the FNCS Invitational, where he shocked the world placing 5th, taking home $35,000. He also qualified for the Global Championships, where he placed 47th and earned $5,000. He has placed first in 44 different tournaments in the Brazil region, making him the clear GOAT of Brazil. He's also one of the few players that competed in the World Cup era and still competes in events now. Next up is another GOAT from the World Cup days, and his name is Mitro. Dimitri van de Vrie, also known as Mitro, age 21, is a retired player from the Netherlands. He has earned over $830,000 from competitive tournaments. Which reminds me, we are getting close to the end of this video, and I have not revealed the highest earnings player on this list. Just wait till you guys see who it is. But back to Mitro. He was one of the most popular OG EU competitive players, who was among the same popularity of Mr. Savage and Mongrel, who were on this list earlier. Mitro qualified for the Fortnite World Cup Finals with Mongrel, where he placed 6th, bringing home a whopping $225,000. Mitro's placements date all the way back to the OG skirmishes, however. He also won the Week 2 EU Fall Skirmish, which netted him $37,000. Mitro also won the Chapter 2 Season 4 FNCS Grand Finals, which earned him $37,000. In May of 2022, Mitro retired and now will only play some events for fun. Sticking around in EU, we have Vorwin. Tom Piquet, age 23, is a retired Fortnite player who last competed in 2021, representing Spain. He has over $91,000 earned throughout his career, and he started playing competitive Fortnite during the start back in 2018. Here he placed 23rd in the Fortnite Week 6 Fall Skirmish, earning $5,000. Vorwin also qualified for the World Cup Duos, where he placed 26th, earning $50,000. After he retired, he went on to play Valorant competitively. Right next door to Spain is Portugal, and Francisco Oliveira, more popularly known as Kiku, at the age of only 17 years old, is the Portuguese player we're talking about today. With over $43,000 earned from events, he has made 6 FNCS Grand Finals in EU. Some of his most notable placements include 10th in Chapter 2 Season 5 Grands and 42nd in the solo FNCS All-Star Showdown. Kiku still competes in Fortnite to this day, unlike our next retired pro from Croatia, Jerky. Jerky has been competing since 2019 and has over $162,000 in earnings. He won Chapter 2 Season 6 of FNCS EU Grand Finals with Queasy and Trulex, which earned him $100,000 US. Like most of these players, he got his first earnings in the World Cup, where he placed 1,932nd in Week 1 of solos, earning him $100. He played his last event in December of 2023. Next, we have Khalid Alamar, also known as CalGamer. At just 17, he is the #1 competitor from Saudi Arabia and one of the top players on the Middle East region. He has earned a total of $87,000 over his Fortnite career, which is really impressive coming out of Middle East. He got his first earning in Winter Royale during 2019, and since then has gone on to win 3 FNCS Grand Finals in a row, winning Major 2 and 3 of 2023 and Major 1 of 2024, which qualifies him to the 2024 Global Championships later in the year. CalGamer competed in the 2023 Global Championships, where he placed 55th and earned $2,000. As of right now, CalGamer is the most dominant player in the whole Middle East region and is a favorite to win Major 2 in May. Going back to EU, our next player is one of the best, Z-Andy. Also known as Andre Ursu, Z-Andy at age 18 is the best competitive player we have ever seen from Romania. Z-Andy has earned $335,000 from Fortnite Fortnite events. His biggest paydays have been from the Gamers 8 tournaments in both 2022 and 2023, where he placed both 2nd and 4th, earning $75,000 from each tournament individually. He also qualified for the 2022 FNCS Invitational, where he placed 8th, earning $20,000. I think one of the reasons ZAndy is regarded as one of the best players around is because he performs so well at LAN, which is such a hard thing to do. Sadly, ZAndy and his duo Hellfire failed to qualify for the recent 2024 FNCS Major, and they'll be looking to qualify for the upcoming Major 2 finals. The next player is Clement Dengler, also known as Skite. And if you couldn't tell from my horrible accent, this is the top Fortnite player from France. He is currently retired, but was one of the top EU players from 2018 to 2019. He qualified for both the Solo and Duo World Cup, and placed 7th in Solos, earning $525,000. He also placed an impressive 10th in Duos, earning $112,000. Skite was also recently seen getting back on the game and playing some Solo Victory Cups in 2023, but hasn't competed in FNCS or any other tournaments, so it seems like he's just playing for fun. The same cannot be said, however, for Nikita Kulak, also known as Stormyrite. Stormyrite is the best player in the history of Ukraine, and he has earned a total of $341,000 from competitive Fortnite events. He is currently retired because his career was greatly affected by the war in his home country, where his power would often go out while he was trying to play. Stormyrite's most notable placement before all this was winning the Chapter 2 Season 7 FNCS Grand Finals and placing 2nd in the Chapter 3 Season 1 Grand Finals. Stormyrite has now moved to Berlin in Germany for safety and has announced that he's done playing Fortnite. He's just looking to start a new chapter in his life, it seems. Our next Fortnite player is from Belgium, and at 28 years old, he is the oldest player on our list. His name is Noward. Noward started his career back in 2018. During the years 2018 to 2022, he amassed $183,000 in total from the game. His remarkable earnings came from the 2019 Fortnite World Cup, where he placed 13th and won $50,000. Next up is our second to last country, the United States. And obviously there are a lot of players to choose from here. We have Booga, Epic Whale, Saf and Zate, Clicks, Kanata, and so many more players to choose from. Although many are going to disagree with me here, I decided to go with Peterbot. Yes, I know, but listen to what I have to say before you get mad and start commenting. Peterbot, at just 16 years old, has perhaps the most potential to keep growing as a player on this entire list, and he's also already incredibly successful as it is. He started his career on console and eventually switched to PC, where he has faced many cheating accusations for his robotic-like aim. Peterbot has over $270,000 earned from Fortnite, and his biggest win was when he placed 1st in the Chapter 3 Season 2 FNCS Grand Finals with his duo Byla. And here he earned $65,000. Peterbot is qualified for both the 2022 FNCS Invitational as well as the 2023 FNCS Global Championship. Peterbot most recently placed 2nd in the 2024 Major 1 FNCS with his duo partner Poyo, earning him $45,000. Obviously, that means our last and most earned player on this entire list is Aqua. David Aqua Wang is 21 years old and is not only the top Fortnite player from Austria, but is probably the best Fortnite player of all time. I know this is kind of a bold opinion as there are so many other GOATs, but Aqua just has won and won again, even nowadays when he doesn't even try. Ever since he began competing in Fortnite tournaments in 2018, Aqua has amassed a whopping $2,195,000 from over 100 Fortnite tournaments. His most notable earnings obviously coming from the 2019 World Cup, where him and his duo Nyrox won the duo finals for a $1.5 million prize. And to round out this video, we need to take a look at the entire story of the undoubted greatest player to ever touch Fortnite, Peterbot. For those of you who are OG Timmy fans, you know I've already done a video about the story of Peterbot before, but for those of you who missed out, I'm going to do a small recap of Peter's career up until this weekend, and then we can talk more about how he just had a historic win. Peterbot Kata was born on June 20th of 2007. That means as of the making of this video, he is barely 17 years old, which is insane considering the amount of money he has made playing this game, and we're going to talk more about that later. But clearly, Peterbot started gaming at a young age, and he actually started playing Fortnite during the first season ever on his PlayStation 4.
I was in school with my friends, and actually my cousin. My cousin told me to get the game. I was just playing with all my IRL friends and stuff. Just having fun like every other kid when it first came out.
Quickly, however, Peter realized that he was better than his friends. A lot better than his friends. On top of that, he also realized that the console community just wasn't as good, and if he wanted to go pro, he would need a PC. A couple years later, in early 2020, Peter would get the opportunity to get his first PC and eventually take his dive into professional Fortnite. On September 2nd of 2020, at just 13 years old, Peter made his very first earnings of $250 in Caster's Contender Cup. Although $250 may not seem like a lot compared to the hundreds of thousands and millions that he's winning now, you have to realize that as a 13-year-old kid, $250 probably felt like he was rich. For the first year of his competitive play in 2020, Peter kept taking home smaller cash prizes and earned a total of $1,200 in the December Frosty Frenzy competition. For the first half of 2021, Peter managed to place in the top 100 in a bunch of cash cups and an FNCS, winning a few $100 here and there. But he was just about to take home his biggest earnings ever in 2021 that summer. Peter earned himself a spot in the FNCS All-Star Showdown on June 26th of 2021. He did not only better than people thought he would, but better than anyone could have ever imagined. Peter, in his first massive solos tournament, would place 8th in the finals, earning him a whopping $18,000. This was obviously huge for Peter, not only because that's a lot of money, but because he is still 14 years old when all of this is going down. On top of the money, this placement also showed the Fortnite community that Peter was a force to be reckoned with. And with the relatively new Trios game mode being part of FNCS now, it was important that he proved himself in order to get good teammates. Following this standout performance in solos, veteran player P-God and another young gun named TK would reach out to Peterbot to see if they wanted to join the two to trio. For those of you that don't know, P-God was not only one of the better competitive Fortnite players, but he was also incredibly popular. In August of 2021, P-God and Peterbot and TK were definitely underdogs leading up to FNCS, but they were ready to prove everybody wrong. You see, Peterbot was no stranger to being the underdog. Peter was nobody in the Fortnite community just 6 months ago, and now he was playing with some of the world's best players on the world's biggest tournaments. Leading up to the FNCS, just weeks before the qualifier, the dynamic trio would win their first cash cup together, taking home $600.
Let's go! Let's go!
And after this incredible performance in the Cash Cup, they did even better in the qualifiers, finishing first in the Session 2 FNCS semifinals. Just a week later, it was time for the Grand Finals, and Peterbot, along with TK and P-God, were ready to prove their deniers wrong. Unfortunately, the team did not place in the top 10 like they were looking to do, but with an 11th place finish out of 33 teams, they still took home $2,500 in earnings, which again is a lot for just a couple of kids. And although this trio looked very promising following their first performance in FNCS together, unfortunately it didn't last very long. To the surprise of many of his peers, Peter decided he didn't want to continue playing with P-God and TK following FNCS. Regardless of them not playing together anymore, however, P-God undeniably helped elevate Peterbot's fame. Before the two played together, Peter had only 4,000 followers on his Twitter account, and by the time they split, he had 10x the followers at 40,000 in just a few months of playing with P-God.
I had 4,000 followers when I started playing with him. I have like almost 40K on Twitter now, and like I appreciate it a lot.
And with all of these new followers, Peter was ready to show the world that he was one of the best players around. So for the next season of Trios, Peter caught the attention of some players called Bucky and Macwood. And if you don't know who those veterans are, you must be under some kind of Fortnite rock. This trio would team up for the very first time on October 18th of 2021. Peter, of course, wanted to play with good players in general, but another huge part of the equation here is that Macwood and Bucky had an uncontested drop spot. You see, one of the reasons that Peter's team got 11th is because they were contested on the drop with P-God and TK, which makes it a lot harder to perform well. So with an uncontested drop and everything to prove, it was time to drop into the Grand Finals. And unfortunately, things things didn't pan out the way they thought they would. Because not only did Peter not do better than he did last season, he got exactly the same 11th place once again, earning another $2,300. After this happened, Peter got some backlash from the community on his decision to leave PGOD. Peter's growing confidence had turned relatively cocky, and he thought that he was perhaps better than he was at the time. But later on in this video, we're going to talk about this week's tournament, and you'll see how this confidence was definitely justified, as Peter would become one of the best players in the world. But for now, we're still at Peterbot being 14 years old. The young Peterbot did, however, seem to learn a lesson, as he decided to stick together with Bucky and Macwood for another season. And this would probably be the best decision in Peter's young career, because shortly after the 11th place finish in FNCS, Epic Games would announce the Fortnite Grand Royale. The Grand Royale was set to take place in that following November with a multi-million-dollar prize pool. And let's just say that this trio sticking together was a really good decision. Peter and his trio finished in an amazing 4th place, which earned the trio $30,000. It seemed like all was going well for Peter. He had the trio of his dreams, making money and growing on social media. However, things would come to a screeching halt. This is because Epic Games decided that in just 1 month, in January of 2022, the competitive game mode would switch from trios back to duos. And with Bucky and Macwood sticking together, this meant Peter was once again on the hunt for a teammate. But let's be honest, Peter wasn't going to have to look for a teammate for that long. After playing with some of the best in the business and placing so high in Grand Royale, there was no way that somebody wasn't going to scoop up this young prodigy and take him to the promised land of winning an FNCS. Peter tested out a couple of teammates, hoping to find the perfect fit for the new season. He tried playing with the GOAT Kanata, Nani, his old trio member Macwood, and even ran up FNCS with his good friend Quanti. But after 6 months of trying and not performing the way that he wanted to, Peter decided to give up on playing with other top players. And instead, he made a decision that once again would change his life forever. Peter remembered what PGOD did for him, taking a young player with a lot of prospect and giving them an opportunity and crafting them into a better player that can fit his playstyle. Now this is where things are going to get very interesting and take off very fast for the young Peterbot. With the second FNCS of 2022 just around the corner, Peter would decide to give Byla, a very cracked controller player, a chance. And although Byla was technically older than Peterbot, it felt similar to the PGOD situation where Peter was ready to take this guy under his wing. And that's exactly what happened, because Byla did not let this opportunity go to waste. Peter and Byla came in 1st place of Qualifier 1 for FNCS, which sent them directly to the Grand Finals. And it was here that Peter would solidify his name in the conversation for one of the greatest players in Fortnite history. On May 29th of 2022, Peterbot won his first FNCS Finals.
Peterbot and Byla, officially your FNCS champions. You love to see it. That was the most incredible day one, and then they were just hanging out, dancing it out like you were earlier.
Peter had finally done it. From an awkward console kid to an FNCS champion in less than 2 years.
How did you feel after winning your first Grands with Byla?
Felt great. It was like the best feeling in the world. I mean, you just won. Honestly, it's not really a money thing, it's just winning. When you're winning, you can't be mad at anything. And honestly, the win was really unexpected, so it meant more to, me, just because I don't think people had me in their top 20, but I still won. A lot of things went my way though, I'm not gonna lie. Every winner needs a little bit of luck, bro. Like whether you say they don't or not, everyone needs a little bit of luck in their FNCS. It's just how it works.
However, all of this success wouldn't come without haters. Peter's laser-like aim, seemingly tracking opponents through walls, fueled accusations of cheating. Videos started popping up all over social media.
We are purely talking about the professional player signed to TNG, Peterbot. He has come under fire today for being accused of cheating by BBG's Young Cal.
And these accusations weren't just coming from internet trolls. Pro players, the best of the best, started calling out red flags in Peterbot's games. Even the world champion Booga expressed his doubts about Peterbot being real.
I don't know any pros who know people that aim like this. I've never seen a pro before him that aims like this. I don't know how to describe it, but the way he aims is insane. And just the way he plays, he hits the 200, moves off of him, and then moves back onto him instantly. I don't understand it. And then, for example, this clip right here, like this entire video, I've watched this before. I literally kept track. He does not miss a pump the entire video. I've never seen that before. Maybe it was just his day. Maybe he's just crazy like that. Never in my life have I seen anybody play an entire solo cash cup, post the video to YouTube, and they don't miss a single pump ever. He might be the most naturally talented player we've seen ever to touch the game. He might be that. 103. He might be that. He might be crazy. I hope he's not cheating. I hope he's not cheating. I seriously don't. I hope that he's legit. I hope that he's just that good. But the fact that I've never seen anyone this good, or no pro has seen anyone this good ever, I don't even know.
Plus, on top of all of this evidence, a massive amount of fuel was added to the fire by the fact that Peter didn't stream. Many people in his position would stream to earn a ton of money, but Peter refused to, and many people thought that that's because he was cheating and didn't want people to know. However, it turns out that Peter just didn't want to stream.
I don't stream enough, I feel like. So, like, I don't really have, like, a goal right now because I don't stream enough to have a goal. But, like, I want to be big, you know? Like, I want to be the person to stream to people. But, like, I just don't have the mindset right now.
So, with all of these cheating accusations going on, one of the easiest ways for Peter to prove himself would be to compete and perform well in a LAN event. For those of you that don't know, these LAN events, which are in-person tournaments, have computers that are PC checked by professionals to make sure that there's no way anybody could be cheating. And luckily for Peterbot, Fortnite's first LAN event since the World Cup was announced for November 13th, 2022, and it was called the FNCS Invitational. Peterbot was gearing up and ready to go after winning with his duo Byla. Unfortunately, however, tragedy would strike when right before the Invitational, with just a couple weeks to go, Byla would drop out of the LAN event without much explanation. This left Peter to find a duo in the very last minute of the tournament, ultimately deciding to team up with his good friend Jamper to lead him into the LAN. Rumors of the duo started to spread like wildfire, especially rumors surrounding Byla dropping out because he believed that Peterbot would be exposed for cheating at LANs. Also, people thought that Peter was paying Byla not to play because he would have preferred to play with Jamper. And this was never proven to be true, and I also don't think that it's true, but I'm just sharing this because it was some of the rumors that were going on at the time. So Peterbot and Jamper got into the FNCS Invitational and dropped in hoping for the best as a brand new duo. And on day one, things didn't go to plan. They finished last. Literally dead last, 50 out of 50. But the duo still had a chance to prove themselves on day 2. And while they didn't score last, they placed 37th, which was still probably not the placement that either one was looking for, especially since Peter had the added weight of trying to clear these cheating accusations. But let's be real, Peter did really well considering this was his first LAN event ever. He was 15 years old, had barely showed his face up until this point, and was probably incredibly nervous to go out there on a huge stage. And just because Peter had haters didn't mean that he was going to give up after that unfortunate LAN performance. Instead, he was going to lock in and make sure the 2023 season was even better than 2022. Instead of keeping Byla or Jamper as a duo, Peter would then team up with the winner of the Fortnite World Cup, Bugha. The two of them decided to team up going into the 2023 FNCS Major 1. Both of them performed incredibly well going into the grand finals, and basically everyone thought this was the dream team that had the FNCS in the bag. But once again, as it seemed to go for Peter at this time, things didn't go to plan. The two pros only got 16th in grand finals, which, although is incredible for many others, was completely devastating for Peterbot.
I was expected to win the first FNCS of last year, won Acorn and Cold first one, and I got 16th. I just started playing Valorant all day for no reason and just getting worse and worse.
As you heard Peter say, he was distracted, and although he never made a switch to be a Valorant professional, he didn't really take the game Fortnite as seriously as he should have, considering what he was trying to do. And that was prove everyone wrong and be the best Fortnite player of all time. Even though Peter performed poorly, however, he would still get the opportunity to find himself a more stable income and a group of people to play with in Elite Esports.
3 orgs down, this is our last choice. It's Elite. What are our thoughts?
Alright bro, this is the one.
Go for it.
Peter would join the organization on April of 2023. Following joining Elite, Peter was still on the hunt for a duo. And in the 2023 season, he would try out playing with Quanti, where they placed 9th in FNCS, and Larson, where they would place 18th. At this point into the year, Peter hadn't been able to qualify for the global championships that would be taking place at the end of the year. Luckily, however, in the 2023 format, there was actually a 4th last chance major that gave everybody a final opportunity to make it to the big LAN. And instead of sticking it out with Larson, Peter decided to switch up and go back to his old duo one more time, landing on Byla. Yep, the guy that ditched him at LAN, Byla. And although they didn't get to play together for LAN, nobody ever said they weren't a good duo. And these two clutched up and managed to place 1st in the last chance major, which earned them a ticket straight to the finals in Copenhagen.
By the end of the year, by Copenhagen, when I clutched up land qual, I started like getting my full grind again, getting back to like my main form.
And even better than winning the FNCS last time, Byla actually stuck it out, and the two would go to the 2023 Global Championships on October 15th of 2023. The duo managed to place 26th, and although this placement wasn't great, it gave Peter the push that he needed to know that he had to be the best going into 2024. And that brings us up to this new year. It's only been 7 months into 2024, and if you love Fortnite like I do, you know that Peter is having a historic year. And I'm gonna give you guys all the juicy details and talk about the massive amount of earnings that Peter has made, all leading up to when we talk about what happened in this epic weekend. So shortly after the 2023 Global Championships, Peter decides to drop Byla once again. And thinking back to when he originally found Byla, Peter knew that he needed to find a duo that was moldable to his style. Peter being an incredible fighter and also a very aggressive IGL, he needed to find somebody who could play with him. And that guy was Poyo. And to say that these two guys clicked would be an understatement. Peter and Poyo would pick up their first duo Cash Cup win before 2024 even started. See, Fortnite was hosting some preliminary Cash Cups before the new season, and on December 17th of 2023, Peter and Poyo won $1,600, which seemed to be a great start for the two and an omen for more good things to come. And little did they know that they were about to play the greatest season in the history of Fortnite. But before we can talk about their gameplay, we need to talk about his organization situation, because in late 2023, Peter would leave Elite Esports, which meant going into 2024, he was looking for a new home. Alongside his ex-duo partner Bucky, Peterbot would join Agent Gaming.
One more special guest that we're going to be bringing in. He also somehow wants some type of intro song. Who is this? Take off the back. Peterbot! Welcome to Agent, man.
Thank you.
So now Peter was going into Major 1 with the support of an awesome new organization, and he was not about to let them or any of his fans down. The FNCS Major 1 Grand Finals for North America was held on February 25th of 2024. The duo had done relatively well in qualifier rounds and were consistently placing in the top 5. Despite their solid performances in the qualifiers, they weren't exactly expected to place within the top teams going into the Grand Finals, considering Peter's poor performance at the end of last season. However, this team was about to prove to everyone that they were the team to watch out for. And although they didn't get to snag first place, the duo did score 721 points, placing 2nd in the NA Grand Finals.
Peterbot and Poyo in second. Peterbot was putting on an absolute highlight reel. The broadcast was showing some of the most ridiculous shots I have ever seen out of them.
The duo that came out on top Major 1 was Acorn and Cold with 898 points in the tournament. Just to compare how competitive NA was compared to EU that season, the top team on EU had only 649 points, and this just goes to show how Acorn and Cold blew away the rest of the competition. Which reminds me, if you guys want to see a video about Cold or Acorn or anybody else, comment down below who you want to see in my next video, and make sure to subscribe so I know who to make it about. But anyways, despite Peter and Poyo getting 2nd place, they were ready to take over first in the next season. Going into Majors 2, Peterbot was looking unstoppable. Him and Poyo just played a perfect Cash Cup, winning 6 out of 6 final games.
Okay.
Nice.
Actually, he has a med kit. Just pop it. He is so...
The med kit was too early. Nice.
Maybe go back. Nice.
Nice. Let's go.
Nice. Oh my god.
Let's go. Let's go.
But soon enough, that would seem small in comparison to the insane major that he was about to be playing in. Peterbot was incredibly confident about his odds, and there was nothing separating him from his first place in Grand Finals.
I'm gonna let you know right now, there's no world where I don't win this grand. There's no world I'm going to win this Grand, guaranteed, you know? And if I don't,
and Peterbot's confidence or cockiness was there for a good reason. He had an incredible drop spot. As many of you know, Chapter 5's map changes introduced the new medallion system into Fortnite. Basically, you eliminate bosses at certain POIs, and you retrieve these coins or medallions, which give you special powers. And Peterbot and Poyo, being the threat that they were able to claim the uncontested drop of Grim Gate. And for those of you that don't know, this is where Cerberus is. He drops an overpowered Gatekeeper shotgun and a medallion that helps you dash around the map with unlimited refreshes. So going into Grand Finals number 2 of that year, Peter was not only the best player in the game, but also had the best drop spot, best shotgun, and best medallion on his side. And with all of these factors at play, just on day 1, Peterbot and Poyo broke the record for most points in a single day in a major.
That's right, these guys have just broken the previous record for most points in a single day. The last time we saw this was OCE, Chapter 4, Major number 2 from Sons and Anon.
Going into day 2 as the clear leaders, Peter and Poyo locked in just to seal the deal and prove they were the best of the best.
Don't feed them the splashes. Don't feed them the splashes.
Oh my god!
Peterbot and Poyo came out not only as the champions getting first place in Majors 2, but also setting a world record of FNCS points where they got 5 wins and 1,092 points. Now we're getting closer and closer to talking about this crazy past weekend, but there's one more tournament that would take place before the Invitationals, and that was Major 3. The Agent House was bought out by a different org called Exceed. They also happened to sign Peter's duo, Poyo, meaning the duo was now playing for the same org for the first time ever. Peter and Poyo went into this third Majors very confident in themselves. I mean, who wouldn't be if you just broke the world record for points in the last FNCS? However, the duo would no longer have the Cerberus drops of the medallion and the Gatekeeper shotgun at their disposal, meaning that they would need a new strategy. And on top of these items no longer being in their inventory, this major saw a ton of players from Europe coming on over to EU to throw some new challenges into the mix. We saw players like Mongrel, Mr. Savage, and many others come to NA to try at one last chance at qualifying for the FNCS Invitational of 2024. On top of these odds that were already stacked against them, statistically speaking, it's just incredibly rare to win back-to-back FNCS Grand Finals.
Peterbot and Poyo currently holding the Axe of Champions, looking to defend that title. We kind of seen these guys just perform out of their minds, but I guess for now the question becomes, how have they been performing in this major? And honestly, what would it take to get that back-to-back?
They've been performing extremely well. That is why this is topic of conversation, right? Can they pull off the back-to-back? And back-to-backs are not easy. It's not something that we see happen very often. In fact, I wanted to go ahead and point out the last time that we actually saw a back-to-back, and that was actually when Booga and Miro were teammates. And this happened all the way back, Chapter 2, Season 8, when we had the seasonal FNCS.
It's crazy that the last back-to-back winner before this was Booga, and that was all the way back in Chapter 2. Many were skeptical going into the season that Peterbot and Poyo's reign of terror in the last season was just because of the OP drop spot. I mean, even I myself made a video about Peter and Poyo and how they might have just gotten lucky in that last FNCS, but they were about to prove us all wrong. Even without their precious medallion, Peter and Poyo were not giving up. The next season, they decided to drop at Redline Rig. And as far as strategy goes, things were mostly the same for Peter and Poyo. They still W-keyed most of the lobby and absolutely dominated. However, at the end of day 1 of Major 3, Peterbot and Poyo were actually not in first place. In fact, they were in second behind one duo that everybody wanted to win. With Clicks and Vino of all people in first place, everybody was shocked and more eyes than ever were on this FNCS. And while this was terrible for Clicks and all the Clicksters, it ended up working out great for Peterbot. Peterbot and Poyo absolutely dominated on day 2 and managed to take home that sweet, sweet back-to-back FNCS win. And although Peterbot and Poyo were already qualified for the FNCS Globals in Dallas, winning back-to-back FNCS Grand Finals going into that must have put their confidence at an all-time high. So without further ado, let's talk about this weekend and what just happened as Peter and Poyo made absolute history. The 2024 FNCS Global Finals, held right in the Dickies Arena in Dallas, Texas. Dallas being the home to many of North America's pro players, which means unlike in Copenhagen a year ago, Peterbot and his fellow Americans wouldn't have to travel far or deal with any jet lag during the competition. All Peter had to do was take a short drive over and dominate. The Global Finals tournament would be split over 2 days, September 7th, Saturday, and September 8th, Sunday. Each day would be comprised of 6 games, which meant they would play a total of 12 matches. And what would the big winner be taking home? Well, the first place team would get $400,000 all to themselves. Unlike many tournaments in the past, Peterbot and Poyo were not being underestimated. In fact, they were probably favorites to win. But as we talked about earlier in the video, how likely is it for someone to win back-to-back tournaments, let alone back-to-back-to-back tournaments, including a global championship? And another thing about this tournament was that this wasn't just an NA tournament. Even though it was being hosted in America, the world's best players would be there. From OCE to EU to Asia to Brazil and everywhere else, this was going to be the biggest challenge Peterbot and Poyo had faced yet. That being said, Peterbot's confidence was at an all-time high.
You guys, I mean, eliminations, you guys are strong going into this. How do you feel?
I feel good, and I'm confident. And I think we're
going into the tournament, the duo decided that they'd be dropping at one of the new POIs for Chapter 5 Season 4, The Raft. The Raft is a huge prison-based POI containing some insane loot, as well as the NPC Emma Frost. For those of you who haven't really gotten a chance to play Fortnite during this new season, the Emma Frost NPC drops the best medallion currently available, and perhaps the most overpowered medallion we've seen. And keep in mind, this is considering the fact that Peter had the Grim Gate medallion, and I think this is even more OP. This is the Reveal medallion. This medallion scans the area around the holder of it every 50 seconds and marks where opponents are, and you can even see them through builds. This power is incredibly helpful throughout the game, but more specifically through endgame, and especially in a duos game mode where you can tell which players are left alive as a solo and don't have a duo to defend themselves.
I think that Reveal medallion is going to be so beneficial for them because they can just find anyone lurking in different situations. They're not going to get snuck up on. It's playing into their hands right now if they can make it off spawn, which it seems like they have a solid strategy so far and clearly a lot of confidence as well.
The Emma Frost NPC also drops a Mythic Striker Burst AR, which is an incredible weapon, especially this season when there isn't a ton of long distance weaponry. And in these really stacked Grand Finals lobbies, if you guys don't know, there's something called Storm Surge where players need to do a certain amount of damage, otherwise they'll be killed by the storm. So with a weapon like that in Peterbot's hands, it was no doubt that they wouldn't deal with issues from Storm Surge. Everyone knew this was the best drop spot by far, and because of how valuable this area is and just how much amazing loot exists there, 3 teams decided to drop there, which is a lot of teams to be contested by, but like I said before, Peterbot was incredibly confident in himself and his ability to absolutely destroy everybody in his way.
The Raft is looking busy. There's a lot of duos going into the same spot. Is that a good thing for you guys in terms of surge and things? You kind of eager to have that happen and prove right off the bounce that you guys are ready to contend for that title?
Yeah, I mean, like, the 4 teams won't really be an issue for us because, you know, I think we are going to be chilling on our side of Raft and get the Mythic Gog every game.
Although Peterbot had won multiple FNCS Grand Finals at this point, he has yet to win a LAN event at this level. So this was a big moment for him to prove all the haters wrong and once and for all show people that he was not a cheater. So without further ado, let's drop in to game number 1. In game 1, the duo drops as planned on Raft and immediately snatches up the medallion.
Peterbot was saying earlier on, that bot is always going to be ours. Emma Frost's medallion
and that mythic striker burst. That's everything that they're after, and he's already collected it.
Wow, so Peterbot and Boyo already off to a great start here. Clearly, they have the advantage. Clearly, they even have the respect of the teams landing here not to step center foot into their location.
With the reveal medallion in hand, the duo would press on to Rift Island.
As the Rift Island's already gone up, and we already know who's playing for it.
Peterbot and Poyo did not even wait a moment's notice. As soon as the Rift Island spawned in, these two were prepped and ready to go. Peterbot already taking advantage, putting some pressure onto teams that are just trying to rotate at the bottom of Rift Island. You know teams like to try and utilize some of those rifts along the bottom, but again, when you have a team like Peterbot and Poyo, and they're not the only ones lurking either, Trashy and Threats as well, making their presence known. But keep in mind, Poyo Peterbot, they've got that reveal medallion.
Yeah, they're going to be able to scout them out in just a couple of moments here. So Trashy and Threats will have a big problem here.
Taking out Cheeps and earning his first elimination of the game and the tournament. But there would be plenty more to come.
Major eliminations are happening, though, as we're covering the action here. One of those, it's Peterbot and Boyle staying active here. Down goes Cheeps from the high ground there. And they are doing what we expect of them. Very healthy, extremely material capped, and now picking up points. That's a runaway train potentially starting to take form.
Of course, Peterbot was not going to just stop there. He kept rotating, eventually making it towards the final few storm circles. He would also take out Alex's duo Power Worthy on the way. Unfortunately, however, Peter would also lose his duo Poyo in the rotation process, meaning that he was going to have to play out the final circles as a solo. But just because he was down a teammate doesn't mean he was going to hide for the rest of the game. This is Peterbot we're talking about. He was going to go down fighting.
With Clix's
oh my god.
POV, but Clix is just crazy with the movement. The fact that he manages to escape.
Still alive.
Still
he's clutching. Almost a top 15 now, and he's inside the top 15. Could he make a top 10? It's so close, and down he goes to the hands of Peterbot. He takes him down. Peterbot is also a solo.
Peter was able to drag him and Poyo right into the 7th place spot with 8 total eliminations. This match altogether got the duo 70 points. And while this is not the first place finish Peter was hoping for, this round set them up perfectly for future high performance games. And speaking of future games, it's time to talk about game number 2. In game 2, Peter and Poyo stay true to their drop and play similarly to the early game of round 1.
Muzz gonna find himself into a situation. Peterbot goes huge there though off the SETI.
8 eliminations now for Peterbot and Boyo here. Peterbot still going, nearly finding another one there. Just moments away now from a top 5 here. Can he do it as a solo? He's getting spotted out, the armor wall comes down. Another weak player in front of him. Oh, he got tagged. Never covered out. It was so close.
And it was clear that they simply weren't as lucky this game, dealing with some tough RNG. They were having trouble finding their footing and had incredibly low materials. However, Peter would get an important elimination against Sphinx and then Yuma and Acorn, but he wasn't able to stick the landing.
Just too much pre-existing pressure, but Peterbot could go massive here. Acorn's gonna get caught out, and Peterbot gets the shutdown.
Oh, but someone comes from behind, and down goes Peterbot.
This subpar performance landed the back-to-back winners in 15th place with only 3 eliminations. This 34 points would bring their total to 104. That game was disappointing for Poyo and Peter, but they still had plenty of time to take their rightful place at the top of the leaderboard. Going into game 3, Peter and Poyo would need to lock in if they wanted to get a good start going into day 2. They continued to drop at the raft and got their medallion and started to approach other teams. Peter actually was able to get an early kill onto Trashy and another elimination onto Cammy, but it wasn't until the end game that Peter really decided to shine.
Peterbot, Poyo, they're currently sitting inside of top 3, 3rd place to be specific, and they're gonna instantaneously take over the hill. Prime position, also catching shots, tags, connecting onto Queasy. But the hill height is the real W here.
Well, I hate to call it early, but it is not looking good for the lobby if you're rooting against Peterbot and Pollo right now, as they've got themselves the natural elevation, the material count, and the base already set up.
This capture of the high ground was so incredibly important because it set Peter and Pollo up for some incredible eliminations while keeping themselves safe from attack from above. However, this was absolutely devastating to literally every other team still alive.
Fortunately, he won't even get a chance to reconsider where he wants to go next. Peterbot and Pollo more than content to take the shutdown.
And they're the team up top, looking down on the rest of the lobby here.
Peterbot and Pollo are bound to catch wind of this. Immediately, the shots rain in. Kovac's trying to scurry around, but he won't escape. There's too much pressure. Peterbot too accurate as well. Another duo life getting flamed here in the mix. Ritual still trying to work his way through. He's crouching, he's breaking the builds, but Peterbot and Pollo MDF, I hate to call it early, but they are looking primed to take over here in match 3.
As the storm circle got smaller and smaller, Peterbot and Pollo eventually had to lose the high ground and fight the remaining teams one-on-one.
Goes to them, Merstash is down, Malabuka's down, 2v2. All they gotta do now is find the last shot, and Pollo, hungrier than ever, is gonna get one. They just need the second now.
Peterbot, Pollo, they're tracking him down. Swizzy staring just a layer above. Pollo's gonna fall though. This could be massive. Swizzy could actually take it, but Peterbot trying to shut that tree down. Peterbot, oh my God, is all he needs. Swizzy takes it home.
Peterbot and Pollo get taken down to the hands of Swizzy.
In the last minute, unfortunately, the win was taken right out of Pollo and Peterbot's hands. But that doesn't quite negate the fact that they played an incredible game. And Peterbot didn't seem to worry about the second place anyway. He knew that he just got enough points to put him in first place overall.
No, we got a 12 elimination second, so it really doesn't matter to me. We're in first by 40 points or something.
The team got a combined 12 eliminations and got 104 points, literally doubling the point count they had in the first 2 games. This was more like the Peterbot and Pollo that we saw in the last 2 grand finals. With the new point total of 208 points and being in first place, it seemed like Peter had finally settled his nerves and was ready to dominate. And after a short break, the players would return to their stations for a game number 4, and Peter was ready to take down anybody in front of him, after getting the medallion and going on their merry way before approaching the Rift Island. On top of that, they were able to upgrade their heals and to some gold weapons by capturing the flag at the top of Rift Island, and this set the duo up for success.
4th place is out, 5th place is out. The standings now starting to gap away. Thomas HD and company, Trulix and company are the closest to, but our first place lead, Peterbot and Pollo here, set up for the Rift Island. They continue to fight for it. It's like you see it spawn and you know, all right, who's gonna be there? It's this team right here.
Nah, for me, it's the fact that Peterbot just lit King up, trying to rip by the side of Rift Island there. And Peterbot, we heard it direct when he was doing that interview with Adam Savage. My aim is on another level right now, and that might be the most perfect example imaginable.
But despite their good luck with loot, Pollo goes down early, which leaves Peter to hold down the fort. Get it? Fort, like Fortnite? Okay, just play the clip.
Peterbot may have his community on his back, but the rest of this lobby, the rest of the world is hoping he does not perform well. Acorn is going to be the resulting team of the reason Pollo is down and out. And this is good for everyone else. Obviously not so good for Peterbot.
In this moment, his mind probably switched into survival mode. In order to maintain his lead, all he had to do was make it further and further up in placements, but unfortunately, Peterbot would go down in 18th place.
Crevice here, but no! Doesn't take the first shot as a warning, and that's a huge mistake now. The first mistake we have actually seen from Peterbot right there.
Because of this mistake, Peterbot and Pollo left the game with only 20 points. And while this wasn't a bad enough performance to drop them out of first place, it definitely let the gap between the second place team, Vico and Flixie, get much closer. And in fact, going into the 5th game, they were only 1 point behind Peter and Pollo. If Peter and Pollo wanted to have the lead going into day 2, they would need a successful game 5 and 6. Game 5 starts out with an unremarkable first half. After following their loot path and grabbing their medallion once again, they would stop at Rift Island and a vault on the way, building up an inventory they could dominate with. However, unlike the last game, Poyo doesn't get picked off early, and the two of them seem to be playing a little bit more safe and a little bit more conservative so that they could secure a high placement.
Find threats with the finish there. Now that's 3 elims, another end game, inching its way towards them now, as we're almost to zone number 9. Big moves here for Peterbot. They're going to give up the high ground a little bit here to play the low front side. Very interesting strategy given that they had mats to work with, but too many teams are alive for their liking, it seems.
Also, the natural elevation possibly working against their favor for the time being. They don't want to get caught off guard, much of a similar fashion the way that they've been catching other teams off notice.
These two would have to play the rest of the match on low ground, but that was not a problem. They burned through countless opponents one after another until there was only 2 teams that remained, Peterbot and Poyo, and Bolts and Bryce.
Bolts and Bryce have been here before. Bryce specifically has won games in person on land. I called it before. This is the team that you have to look out for. They are so talented. However, Peterbot and Poyo just, I mean, they've been ahead of the pack so far.
But Peterbot and Poyo, they got the most recent refreshes. Granted, everyone's building, everyone's burning through it, but Poyo strikes first. Bryce is gonna fall. Peterbot understanding it's all down to Bolts to try and clutch this one up, but it's Peterbot and Poyo after all.
Bolts has been here though, he knows what to do. Don't give him a chance to heal, you have to fight back. Armored walls come out, they have a little bit more map, but Peterbot has too much to work with. Another armored wall, Bolts has an angle. Can he get it? No! Peterbot won't drop him twice.
Peterbot and Poyo strike yet again on the day. Match number 5, and the victory royale belongs to them.
This win was absolutely huge. 10 eliminations, first place, and 105 points. This absolutely secured their lead once again, but Peter and Poyo, if they wanted to make sure nobody else would catch up, needed a solid Game 6 to end out Day 1. After winning the previous match, they were in full stride. They were able to best Sato and Andalex on Rift Island like it was nothing.
Peterbot continuing to claim as many eliminations as possible throughout the course of the day. These guys have been leading the charge here. Peterbot goes for another one.
Oh
it just doesn't seem like Andalex was prepared in the slightest.
I can just hear the reaction through the headphones of what's going on here in the arena. Clearly the crowd is starting to rally with Peterbot now. Just take a look at that. And the first emote of the day as well, so confidence surging.
As the game goes on, the team continues to absolutely burn through the competition, taking down everyone they faced and once again getting them into the final 2 teams.
On to that Gears elimination, and now just a raw 2 versus 2 up against the likes of Agers and Rise.
Peterbot and Poyo went from 2nd to 1st, and now at minimal a 2nd place, but Poyo is always the first to kick off the fight, and he does it in spectacular fashion. Now Peterbot steps up to the plate. Agers is hurt. 1 edit, it's all it's going to take here to put him down, but Armor Wall comes through to get his teammate the full reset here. He says, hey, let's not rush it. And then they jump down, focusing up to high ground here shortly. Give it a moment now. Peterbot and Poyo side by side here. Rise and Agers starting to fizzle it off. Pressure coming in from the low ground. They're running out of materials. Armor walls are done. They're depleted.
Still decent amount of space for Peterbot and Poyo to work with. Keep in mind, Poyo also still has those 4 armored walls, but as far as the health bar is concerned, Peterbot, Poyo, they are fully in the driver's seat. But that doesn't mean that Rise and Agers couldn't turn this one in their favor. They also need a massive game here to finish strong on the leaderboard.
Definitely, this is going to be a significant moment now. How do you close out day number 1? 2nd and 1st, very impactful differences here. Peterbot and Poyo start to swing their way up. They get the angle that they're looking for. Poyo, once again, doesn't quite find it. Peterbot's hurt, though. It's a low ground attack. Poyo by himself here, but the trade from Peterbot up top, he has done what he needed to, and Poyo takes down Agers and clutches out the win from the low ground with back-to-back dubs.
Poyo said it himself, I don't need to worry when I got Peterbot next to me, and Peterbot could say the same fashion. As long as he's got his duo Pollo, these two can always try to reestablish control.
That's right, the back-to-back FNCS winners won back-to-back games to end off day one of the Global Championship. This got the boys another 109 points due to them getting 11 eliminations. This brought their total to 442 points on day one. The closest team behind them in second would be Thomas HD and Queasy with just 295 points, which means they had a whopping 147 point lead. Of course, Peterbot, being as confident as he is, thinks he has the entire championship in the bag.
And Peterbot, you are steps away. Tomorrow, someone's going to lift that trophy. How do you think it's going to be, you guys? How close do you think it'll come to it?
That'll be us. It won't be close. I mean, we're ahead by a lot, and tomorrow we're going to come out winning.
But as we all know, anything can happen on day two. And for those of you that don't know, Epic actually gives out 1.5x the points that they do on day one, meaning that if anything is going to happen, it's going to happen on day two, as you can earn way more points for getting the same placements you got on day one. In the first game of day two, which is game number 7, Peter and Pollo decide to recycle their strategies from day one. However, they run into a little bit more trouble on Rift Island than they were prepared for.
For Peterbot and Pollo, not much has changed, given that they have continued to key their way into the Rift Island. This time they'll met with a lot more resistance. It's about the weakest we've seen them coming into mid-game, and I mean, it makes sense. You have Zagu up top here with Shadome and Vidil and Reason here. Very strong teams, very low on the surge here for Pollo and Peterbot. I mean, everyone might just get what they've been looking for, a potential early exit here.
Oh, that was a little bit of a whiff there out of Pollo. Was probably hoping to fully connect, but Pollo, he finishes what he started, gets Reason in the process, but finds himself getting immediately gobbled up by Vidil. And now a serious 1-versus-1 situation, but keep in mind, there's so many other teams surrounding Rift Island. Peterbot, he's just hoping that he can get the revive off.
Talk about an incredible save here, but Body Out's not going to make it easy here. Armored walls are coming out. Peterbot is desperate and boxed up right now. Zagu is also just above, putting in a couple of shots here, but things are going to slow down. And just when you thought it was over, they get saved here. Peterbot and Pollo are back in.
But at the cost of so many of their armored walls, Peterbot had to fully utilize practically everything he had saved up. And keep in mind, they still need heals. There's no shield, at least as far as Peterbot's loadout is concerned. Possibly Pollo is carrying a couple of small shield potions, but I'd have to guess not, considering that neither of them is bothered to recover. They're just trying to tango once more with Vidil, but he will not budge.
Doing an excellent job here waiting for them. He knows it's still a 2v1, and Peterbot and Pollo are absolutely deadly here. And let's not forget, they have the medallion, right? So they still have very much full awareness of who's around them, but the tags, they need more damage. They've run out of heals here. This is about the best case scenario for every other duo in the lobby if you want to win the globals, which we know very surely they do. Pollo, though, not giving up just yet. Still knows that there's a job to be done here.
At this stage, though, another issue for Peterbot and Pollo is one of their only options remaining to exit Rift Island might just be take the Ascender down. But again, if they go for that launch pad, they might encounter even more resistance from the other teams that are a little bit more established, a little bit more healthy as well. But Pollo, Peterbot, they try to mark it off in the first place. They will break through the builds and manage to escape.
Hopefully they don't get targeted while they're flying by. A lot of teams here in the vicinity now. Peterbot going for the dive down. Pollo trying to scout where's the best spot. They're below the surge. They're gonna have to land and take a fight. It's all or nothing now. Peterbot tries to go for Dukes and Sphinx, and they go for it, but Peterbot gets knocked. It's all up to Pollo now. Everything lies on him to keep the train going here. He's gonna find a lot of tags here, just enough to keep his team in the win now. They try to box up Peterbot. They want to finish his duo. He's not trying to give it away for free. He's actually fighting with all of his heart here, and they're running for him, trying to steal his duo away, and he's going for it, but no! So close! Almost takes down Dukes as well in an incredible exchange, and First place is out. The runway is open.
That was rough. They simply could not catch a break, and I'm honestly not sure how they could have gotten out of that situation alive, but they did a great job at least lasting as long as they could. This was the worst case scenario for Peter and Poyo. The team only got 1 elimination, earning them 6 points, and this allowed Thomas and Queasy to almost completely catch up from the day before, closing the gap between first and second to only 23 points. And unfortunately, Peterbot and Poyo, the next game would somehow do even worse. In game number 8, during the third storm, the duo decided to take on a fight that they seemed like would be an easy win for them, and it just wasn't.
Poyo and Peterbot even working their way through the storm. Got eyes on Yapko and Swizzy. They clearly want the fight, but way off in the distance. Teams a little bit closer to that edge of zone, putting even more pressure still onto Peterbot and Poyo. They are not getting the same clean rotations that they had all day yesterday.
Now keep in mind, this is a team that has landed on each other, right, coming into the season. So Peterbot and Poyo now forcing a back out because tags are coming in from the distance is definitely not ideal by any means. However, if they found the tags that they need, they won't have the problem they had in match number 7, right? They were so far below the surge. This lobby's starting to cut down pretty quick, so we are just gonna have to see what happens when the zone closes here.
Problem though, Peterbot, he's the only one with the medkit. Poyo, he's got to hope that he can find some bandages, a medkit, any form of white heals along the way. But that moment doesn't seem like it's going to come. A lone couple of bananas, and Peterbot knows he's just gonna have to let his duo fall. He'll make the play for the revive after he expends this medkit, but they've still got so much ground to cover, and a team already choosing to close in. Sky, Scroll, they have the immediate collapse. Peterbot, can he get Poyo up?
They've been watching, they saw what happened, and then they saw the name that went down. Peterbot fully armors himself up. Every wall is covered here. They will have to literally break him out and then fight, and he is ready. Rifle in hand, shotgun in the backup kit, ready to go. He tries to go for the wall place first. Very smart done. However, starting to run out of material. Peterbot is one of the best in the world, and for good reason. You just cannot stop him if he does not want it to be done. Look at how well he's putting up a fight in a 2v1 situation right now.
The fact that he's even delayed Sky and Scroll for this long is phenomenal, as is Peterbot continuing to split them apart. He will not let them challenge him 1 versus 1. Anything else is not going to go their way, but Peterbot, he's still managing to scramble. He's on the escape. He's got the reveal marks as well. He knows exactly how he needs to move. But again, Sky, Scroll, they realize we got to reconvene. We got to re-aggress. Peterbot from below. He's on his last little ticks of HP, and I don't think he's going to make it out.
Finds a bandage, has to hit it, but unfortunately will fall now. And that is back-to-back games of trouble on the horizon now for Peterbot and Poyo.
Back-to-back devastating losses for Peterbot and Poyo. And remember when I said earlier that anything could happen on day 2? Well, this was anything, and it was most certainly happening. The circles weren't working in their favor as they were the day before, not to mention that the medallion was making them an easy target coming in from zone. On top of that, people knew Peter and Poyo were in first, making it much more likely that people would try and fight them. But I do think that these back-to-back losses could also be attributed to the overconfidence the team had. Instead of just making their way to circle and backing off of fights, Peter decided to be a little bit too confident and take down everybody in the lobby that he could, and instead he ended up taking himself down. This game left them with 0 additional points behind Queasy and Thomas HD. Heading into the 9th of 12 games, the duo had just 4 games left to make their presence known and get the victory royale.
So here we are in game number 9, and this one was off to a better start.
Peterbot and Poyo, though, this is the furthest we've seen them make it all day today, so they're clearly trying to ramp up for a big performance here in the 9th lobby.
And the duo even managed to once again take down Clicks.
Clicks continue to try and charge through, hoping that he could catch another player off guard, but he sees gone. He knows that there's a knocked body, but he won't be able to power through and push into these boxes with the armored walls going up, instead of trying to remain concealed. But Poyo, Peterbot, they're gonna find him.
Of course, it's Poyo and Peterbot. waiting to catch them in the web.
Peterbot and Pollo continue to mow down the final teams, and it looks like the duo that we know and love from day one has finally come to play on day number 2. But tragedy would strike when Pollo is downed during the top 10.
Of Peterbot, who is on the low ground with a down teammate. Peterbot, so much more to work with, however, it's still so close for everyone else. Another med kit is gonna start coming out for Queasy.
He's just doing everything he can to survive. Peterbot, though, gonna pick off Teeny in the process. Queasy finds another into Rapid. Not gonna get a chance, though, to collect the body loot instead. He's scrambling, trying to remain out of sight here. Tulix and Chicho right behind him, but Peterbot grabs him in the end.
That's exactly what he needed as well. Peterbot trying to take back these points here. Finishing off Trulex now inside of a top 5 situation up on height. It's Dukes though with Peterbot looking to fight back. Do not count him out. It is all solos remaining here. Teacher goes down. The next one is down too. Batman Booga sent back to the lobby. 3 players now here. Peterbot looking at 1v1v1 and another one. Down goes Bars. Can he find the final fight here? Dukes is excellent in these type of scenarios, but Peterbot is just a little better. Up top, the high ground hit is good, and he needs to go. And he does it again.
Peterbot, there is a reason why everyone is regarding him as the best in the world, and with a performance like that, he might just be.
Put him in the box, wrap him up, and send them back to the lobby is the motto here.
That was maybe one of the craziest final moments I have ever seen in an FNCS. But for a guy like Peterbot, apparently it's just a walk in the park.
Walk us through the last part of the game there. We just saw you sweep up. You are like unstoppable.
Yeah, I don't know. I just eliminated everyone. I mean, everyone was a solo players on me. Gold Gatekeeper with Drum Mag. I was just eliminating everyone. It was pretty easy.
This win earned them a crazy total of 160 points due to their 10 eliminations, making their cumulative point total 608, and once again placing themselves in the coveted first spot overall. Following the 9th match, which was halfway through day 2, they gave the players an intermission. This was a time for the duos to talk to their coaches and make a battle plan for the rest of the competition.
Everyone witnessing Peterbot's pop-off to conclude match number 9. Then you go with your duo, you sit and you wait, think, talk, but what do you do realistically when you are dealing with the Thanos of the lobby?
With only 3 games left, everyone was trying to come up with the best plan to climb up the ranks and possibly take down the infamous Peterbot and Pollo. And although the duo was in first place, the lead was not as solid as the one that they brought into day 2. And this seemed like everybody's chance to catch up. But would Peterbot and Pollo let them do it? Let's find out. Game number 10 is one of the most important ones in the tournament. Everyone is well rested as they came back from the intermission. The game started off normal, but unfortunately for Peterbot and Pollo, they were unable to contest the forecast tower, which was a major part of their strategy in early games.
This is also partially Domino's effect because Peterbot and Pollo rotated so early on to push Damon Resigns off of the Clicks Benno eliminations that now it's left an opening for Baka and Pars to set up home base around the forecast tower that would typically be contested by Peterbot and Pollo.
And this game would continue to spiral out of control for Peterbot and Pollo as the two managed to get caught up in a couple of fights outside of zone once again, which cost them valuable resources.
Getting ever so closer to visuals and company, but on the other side, Peterbot and Pollo making a move here from the outside of the zone now, and they are not looking too hot down at the red line rig.
This could actually be a big spot of trouble here if Peterbot and Pollo aren't careful. They had teams on both sides of them as they continue to try and work their way into Brawler's Battleground. Just look at the amount of materials they've had to expend already, and they're still sitting just outside the edge zone.
It was starting to look like we were about to see a repeat of the first 2 games of the day, and although they were able to escape the threat of the encroaching storm, the duo wasn't entirely safe. They were incredibly low on heals and on materials, but they were about to pick off a duo that would turn this game around.
Meanwhile, Peterbot and Pollo This could be exactly everything they were looking for. Ed and Persa have fallen, and a big refresh of materials is finally headed their way.
That was actually so fast too, right? One of the fastest eliminations they picked up, but look, no heals were given out. You would think you catch two teams or a set of duos here on the outside, catch the quick elimination, and you'd be fully refreshed, but they are still in a very bad situation as far as heals are concerned.
Yeah, the kills turned out to not be as big of a help as they hoped. The duo enters into the top 20 and are quickly running out of materials. They manage to pick off Crisp before ultimately being taken down.
Peterbot is down to his final 4 builds.
Wow.
Make that 3. He's still got 6 armored walls though, but he'll have to be so meticulous with how he actually places them. But
Needed
just
that.
in time, Crisp has been found.
It's not much. It's not much, but it's something, and down they go in 17th place. They just couldn't get a footing.
And while 17th place certainly isn't inspiring considering their previous first place win last game, it definitely wasn't as bad as they had done earlier in the day. And because of all the eliminations they had, they did still earn 51 points. However, Thomas and Queasy were hot on their tail in second place. In Game 11, Peterbot and Poyo managed to actually get a hold of the forecast tower.
Poyo and Peterbot, yet again, also finding themselves fully in control of the forecast tower.
They've doubled back, they've secured it again, and this means that they will have all the information for all of the zones coming up. It's such an advantage.
And they were also able to secure Rift Island, and that meant that Poyo and Peterbot were absolutely stacked. They had heals, they had weapons, and they knew where the zones were going to be, and along the way they picked up an elimination on Power Worthy as well. Once again, the duo made it to top 20, but the top 20 became a little bit more difficult than they anticipated.
Peterbot and Poyo continuing to rack up the eliminations here.
They couldn't have found those elims at a better time. Granted, it would be difficult for them to actually make their way towards the body loot, but Peterbot Poyo, they might just choose to take what's right in front of them. Rise immediately falls to Peterbot's accuracy, but it comes at a cost. Peterbot's lost Poyo. The lobby has closed in. Peterbot from the low ground, forced to throw out the armored wall, but everybody's got their eyes on the prize. It seems as though they've all pinpointed the fact that this is a solo operation.
With Poyo down once again, against all odds, here's what happened.
They are decimating the lobby.
It's a 1 versus 2 scenario, but Peterbot is just making it happen. Thomas HD and Queasy sitting at 8 eliminations already, though. Peterbot gets another ritual, isolated, no in sight because he's been taken out earlier on, and Peterbot continuing to tarp his way through the low ground. There's a possibility, MDF, these two might actually just clash head on.
We have a 2v2 and then all solos in between. One of those solos is, of course, Peterbot. Rapid is gonna fall as well, and he just does not stop claiming eliminations at this point. Booga on the backside of zone. Don't come out, son. It's not gonna go well if you step into Peter's domain. Meanwhile, Thomas HD, Queasy are setting up the victory royale.
Thomas HD, Queasy, they know. It's Peterbot and Booga.
Oh my
God.
God.
To deal with, but Peterbot gets a huge chunk out of Queasy. Thomas is gonna fall. One more shot could do it. Peterbot with the refresh, continuing to break through on the long ground. He's making the impossible happen.
Queasy versus Booga up top. Takes him down. Queasy versus Peterbot now. How badly do you want it? Queasy is looking for the tag. Both shots can easily go any way. Peter finds the first one. Can he get the second? He is incredible.
The second time today, Peterbot knew it was exclusively down to him, and left to his own devices, he delivers.
You just cannot make this up. He is too good.
This win was huge, but it did not guarantee them the win. The second place team both in the previous match and in the overall leaderboards is Thomas and Queasy, and they managed to get 12 eliminations in the previous game, meaning they actually earned more points than Peterbot and Poyo, even though they were in second place. And that means that for this last game, everything was still on the line. The teams were left to strategize amongst themselves before the game started, and Queasy and Thomas had to decide if they were going to play the game out normally and hope Peter and Pollo die, or if they would land on them and take matters into their own hands. But regardless of the decision, Peterbot and Pollo were prepared.
Yeah, I think they're going to land on us this last game, and then we're just going to kill them, and that'll be it.
Okay, you expecting that as well? Do you think there's a chance that Thomas and Queasy may make the play and go for you guys and land where you're landing and challenge you?
I think so. Okay. Maybe.
Game 12, the final game of the day, of the tournament, and of the 2024 FNCS season. Everyone needed to make this count, especially Peterbot and Pollo.
Now I know everyone at home watching right now is sitting on the edge of their seats. What is gonna happen? Who is gonna take it all home and lift the trophy at the end, the bragging rights of being the best duo globally across all of the Fortnite regions?
Unlike the last few games where nobody tries to fight off spawn at the raft, Peterbot and Pollo were out for blood. They wanted to end this game quickly. They jumped right into action, dropping Trashy and threats right off of spawn.
Backs have had a phenomenal run, but it's cut short. Pollo, Peterbot doing the same currently to Trashy and threats.
And now, there's no threats in sight. Everyone at the raft must go. Peterbot and Pollo need more points, and they want to start opening up the gap here.
But despite taking fights at the beginning of the game, the duo seemed stronger because of it. They not only got the forecast tower, but also secured Rift Island, and everything seemed to be going to plan. The second place team, Thomas and Queasy, were not having as great of luck. They changed their rotations mid-game in an attempt to meet up with Peterbot and Pollo mid-game and eliminate them early on so they could get the tournament win. But unfortunately, the duo got caught up in the middle of a swamp outside of Green Gate.
And he is missing every opportunity to rotate. Thomas HD, Queasy have to go for a fight here. But no! They get caught and taken down! And just like that, the tournament run for Thomas HD and Queasy come to a close. Pollo and Peterbot effectively survived long enough to be your global champions.
And with those two down, there was virtually nobody who could catch Peterbot and Pollo. But the game wasn't over, and there were still 27 other teams up, and Peter and Pollo were planning on beating them all.
Pollo and Peterbot, they're not even taking a moment to celebrate. It is all business as usual for these two. They want to leave it out with a bang. They're trying to find this last victory royale.
And man, oh man, did they beat them all.
Pollo and Peterbot have had so much time now to recuperate what they lost as far as health is concerned. Peterbot's already got one knock on to True Life. It's just Chicho standing between them at this point. And Peterbot finds his third victory royale on the day, but most importantly of all, a global championship.
The undisputed 2024 champion, Pollo, Peterbot, taking home in the only way they know how, and that is with a victory royale. Congratulations.
And not only did they win that game, but Peterbot and Pollo were our 2024 global champions.
Would you please give it everything you've got for the FNCS Global Champions 2024, Peterbot and Pollo!
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Remember to check out CyberGhost in the link below in my description so you guys can try it risk-free for 45 days and even get 4 months free with their best deal ever on the best VPN worldwide. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.